We're live.
Hello there. Welcome to Plat VALORANT episode 238. It's a giga episode. We've got guests, we got people, we got TMV, Sliggy, Chobra. We're gonna start talking about Pacific. We got member questions. We got coaches out here. We got roster mania. We got Ascension. We got everything. We got everything, baby. We got Chobra casting curses upon the entirety of Indian VALORANT.
Yeah, dude, my chat was telling me about this. I was watching the game, and I was just like, man, they look bad. And people were just telling me like Chobra predicted them to win.
Yeah,
I was like, well,
it's just all I'm just part of the Korean mafia. I gotta lose. It's time to come out. I'm part of the Korean scrim mafia. I'm trying to get 5 teams in so we can have half of the league to ourselves. It's all going according to plan. How do you think I'm making money this year? I'm selling scrims.
At least you're still representing. You're representing an organization that you were directly rooting against in that Velocity match as well. Velocity against Nongshim, and then you've got TMV on the other hand, who just got fired from his organization. Sliggy,
not fired.
Fired from his organization.
Contract ended. Contract ended.
The things he said.
Ended, yes. Contract ended. I'm like Gen.G. We'll get into them in a bit, but maybe someone will come and sign me straight away. Hopefully. So yeah, hashtag get TMV signed. If you think I'm criticizing anyone for any roster moves, every owner of every org is a genius. By the way, all the general managers, they're geniuses. I'm gonna be glazing everyone, okay? You think Rob Moore is making some mistakes? He's not. You just don't understand what he's doing, okay? You just don't understand it.
I don't think he even caught what was going on there. All right, let's go into our first topic. Is a big one as well, okay? Do you want to come and see Plat Chat live? If so,
oh, sorry.
wow, there we go.
Wow, well, you're not getting signed by that org.
Yeah, you're not getting signed by us. I can tell you that. We are going to be at the Red Bull Homegrounds tournament in New York City in November. So Red Bull Homeground, if we haven't really been talking about it because of all of the other stuff that's been happening, but it's a big tournament. Just looking at the Wikipedia page, FNATIC, G2, Sentinels, T1, Zeta Division, Cuba Academy, Envy, like lots and lots of these teams. Ulf Esports, who are currently competing in EMEA Ascension as well. Who knows what half of those rosters are going to look like, but the tournament of Red Bull Homegrounds happening in New York City. We will have a live show of Plat Chat VALORANT at the OS NYC, which is like an esports LAN cafe kind of place. We're going to be selling a number of tickets that also include a meet and greet. I believe we've got 50 of those. Then 200 general admission tickets in which you'll be kind of scattered around the venue watching the show. But it should be sick. Last time we were in kind of the northeast area up towards Toronto, we had a huge amount of interest. So hopefully a lot of people still want to come out and see the show. Hopefully you haven't got bored of us just yet. So you can go to platshot.com and purchase a ticket if you like. And yeah, like we said, last time we were in Toronto, those tickets sold out extremely, extremely fast. So if you are interested, go and have a look on the website. And we'll have myself, Bren, Mimi, Wyatt, Bala is going to be there in the tub.
Bala TW?
In the Bala TW. We're going to have Kurt huge there as well. We're going to have Avast is here as well.
Goodness.
He's going to be peeing live on stream. I mean, probably not, but I mean, at some point he'll need to go and take a break, I would assume. We'll also have some pro players on from the tournament as well, because we're partnering with Red Bull for this event. So we'll get some of the pro players on the show. We'll also have other special guests too that are like affiliated with the Red Bull Homegrounds event, and we'll be announcing those later on. So it will not feel like a normal Plat Chat episode, I think. It will definitely feel maybe a bit more like the kind of thing that we did in Paris, where it was like rotating door of guests of like, mad people all over the place, and you'll be able to get your stuff signed by Bala TW before he goes back into retirement forever.
Yeah, unseen for another 2 years.
Yeah, basically. Shall we talk some Pacific nonsense then?
Let's
go on.
I feel like Pacific has been the quietest region so far. It has been waiting to explode with roster moves.
They're like the last to announce, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
T1 decided to drop their entire coaching roster, but we have no idea what's going on with their team. But Autumn, Indigo, CheongGak, they're out. How do you feel about this, Chobra?
I mean, I don't think it's too surprising, right? If you consider, obviously they won Bangkok, but if you consider the brand of T1, like they wanted more, and also obviously pretty turbulent year for different reasons throughout the entire year. I know a lot of people were kind of wondering like why the entire staff, but I feel like Autumn, Indigo, and CheongGak were always a package. Like it always kind of felt that way, right? Like Autumn always seemed to be really trusting Indigo and CheongGak, so I don't think that's too surprising. I don't think this is necessarily like you guys were bad or not good enough necessarily, but it's just simply he's been with them for a decent amount of time now, like throughout the duration of VCT. And you just didn't get to where you wanted as a brand of T1. Like T1 is a brand that wants to win everything, right? So, given their special record in league. So I think it's just time that you try something new.
Yeah, I think in Valorant, when you've been in a team for like 2-3 years, people start to point at you. Even though they did win, I guess like meta-wise, they were slightly behind as well. So I kind of understand that. I don't think the documentary helped. I'll be honest.
No.
I don't think the documentary really like had his back for this one. But yeah, I mean, it's time for a change. It looks like the Korean teams switching stuff up.
I do think it's a little like, obviously, I think a lot of people will be like, yeah, this makes sense. And as you say, Sliggy, like the documentary didn't help at all. But like they did win a tournament. Like, like there's only 3 tournaments each year. And they did win one of them. I mean, that is, I know we thought going in like, oh, this looks like a pretty good roster. They should be able to compete. But like,
would they win another? Would they win another next year?
Like, would they win another? Like, looking at how they played, that they'd win one this year for most of it, but they did. So I just think if you most of the time, most orgs wouldn't let go of coaches most of the time that had won a trophy. Now I think that this maybe is a bit of more of an exceptional circumstance, right? Than maybe others are. But I think on one hand that there is some surprise in this because, I mean, we're having Bonkar on the show later, but I guess they did drop Bonkar at one point as well. So maybe, who knows? But I on one hand, I think it's a bit strange, but on the other hand, yeah. And I do think the community sentiment is going to largely come back to that documentary, and that you've got to feel a little bit hard done by if you are Autumn. The T1 themselves were like, yeah, this looks good. Let's send this out into the world to make sure that our players and coaches get as much heat on them as possible.
I mean, it's still a cool piece, though. Like,
no,
I know
it's a very good
It's
piece.
a really cool piece.
Yeah, if it was from independent esports, look inside behind the curtain. Yeah, great. When it's from T1 Valorant, hey, here's everything falling apart.
But isn't that like But I mean, for example, Liquid had one where it was a bit like that after their crash out at Champions too, but it didn't. I mean, isn't it just reflecting? Are you saying that it's bad because it's selling a narrative, or are you saying it's bad because it's exposing the truth, which is that they had a social system and needed to change it?
It's perhaps a bit of both, right? Because we don't see all of it. We don't see everything. I'm sure there are other moments, and Troba went through this as well with like the translation sometimes was a little bit maybe not the best, like, or didn't capture the full essence of it. Like, it's a bit of both. But I do think, I mean, I think it makes sense, right? T1 have got a good team, and if they think that the coaching staff isn't like we said, towards the end of the year, it wasn't going as great. So it makes sense in one hand, but on the other, right?
Go on, you go, Trevor.
Oh, I was just going to say.
I'm just saying that all orgs and all coaches and everyone should sign TMV.
Yeah.
Has a coaching degree.
Actually, I don't need to defend coaches. The org knows what they're doing. Like, trust them, guys. They won a Masters.
I just want to say, if it was after 1 year, like, it would be kind of a question mark for sure, right? Of like, whoa, I mean, they did win though, right? But it's been 3 years of different rosters that we have to believe at least Autumn had some part of building. And again, not saying like Autumn's bad, but it's just, right, you didn't quite get to where you want as T1. Like, if he had won, let's say 2023, and then he won again this year, maybe we would be like, oh, I don't know. I still feel like, there was something that was working with the org, but it's just clearly something wasn't working. And it's not to say that Autumn is a problem, but something probably they felt had to change. And I mean, I guess if you're Autumn, you could feel kind of wronged, especially because of the documentary, like you guys said, of like, especially let's say if we don't see any player changes, it's that does raise a bit of a question mark, I would say. But,
okay, so then what player changes would you make then?
I mean, I'm not. Whoa!
That was a question to you.
Yeah,
that's a spicy turn of events. Yeah.
Because they've got everybody under contract until, like, for future years. So they're not losing anyone, except for Itsu, who they re-signed onto a longer contract. And locking down Itsu, I think, is fantastic, because I think Itsu is that, like, glue guy, plays everything, really highly skilled. I definitely increased my Itsu stocks this year, even as I felt maybe a bit wobbly about some of the others. But if you're saying that they need a roster move, what's your magical fix?
Did he say they need a roster move?
He did. He said that it would be weird if
I'm
the
just saying
team
I
didn't
think
make
it
a
would
roster
raise...
move.
No, I'm just saying I think it's fair to raise more question marks about why only the coaching staff if we eventually don't see any roster moves, right?
Yeah.
But for now, like we don't know. So it's like maybe
he
was squirreling out of it.
No, he worded it pretty well.
Yeah.
He did word it pretty. He didn't commit to anything, which I like. I'm a big trust me, that's all I do on my stream. I don't commit to anything. You just say everything's questionable and then you're kind of fine. I do think he had a good point though about like T1's expectations. The expectations of the org is it's a huge org. They should be like winning multiple things. And I think if you do look at, I mentioned it earlier, like the meta, they won with an off meta where essentially, in my opinion, other teams messed up. Especially if you looked at the meta not changing for the next stage 1 and the masters after that, they got punished because they were behind on the meta. So I do think that they didn't really have a good read on the meta this year, and so I can kind of understand that with the other years behind this as well in terms of the results. So I do think this makes sense, to be honest.
Ooh, who do you pick up as a replacement though? Because in order to drop someone, you need someone
put Carpe in
to come back in. Carpe?
Dude,
I'm actually so down for that.
Yeah,
dude, he understands the team dynamics well.
Yes. Yeah. No, he gets it.
That was my takeaway from the documentary.
Yeah.
Put him in, bro. He knows what he's done.
As a head coach, though, or as like an assistant coach?
I mean, I think head coach is fine. Yeah, I think head coach. I mean, we obviously don't know like what his meta read and strategizing is, but I think any part full time as a coaching staff for Carpe would actually be fire, given what we saw from him in the documentary, and also during Bangkok. Like when I asked him questions during the post press conferences, like it was very clear that he had a big impact on them turning the ship around.
Okay, what do you think about Val analysis?
Yeah.
There's an open Korean coach.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, most people would have been looking at the Gen.G coaches, right? But we'll talk about them later. They've already been locked back down again. We thought they were gone, and now they're back, and maybe they're not. Arnold, I don't know. We'll talk about it later. But
I mean, I believe
assuming they're out of the question.
Bile is also an option.
Oh, Bile,
yeah. I believe Bile is still on the market out of BOG, which is, I think, another case of like, you've had a good run and, you accomplished a decent amount, but just not quite what you were looking for. Yeah.
Okay. Intriguing. Let's go on to the next team. PaperX. They haven't done too much. They're just things that we expected to happen, but for the sake of completion, they parted ways with Mindfreak, which makes sense. And they've also extended the contracts of Something and Devi. So this is, I think, very expected. We didn't really, at least I didn't expect PaperX to be making a roster move or anything significant, really changing from one year to the next year.
No, I mean, they had their best year. They had their best year, even though it was one of probably their worst start. But you gotta look at how they kind of finished on this one. So, and I guess with Mindfreak leaving, that pretty much means that he's got an offer or accepted some kind of offer. Otherwise, they would have delayed all of this unless his contract perfectly ended, like in the off season, which it
his
could
contract
have,
did. His contract did end at the end of this season. So October 20th is when the official if the global contract database says that you have a 2025 contract, you become a free agent at October 20th.
Oh, okay. So it's good timing then. Well,
I mean, I do think though, Mindfreak, surely he's getting on to
he'll
something.
Be fine.
He's surely getting on somewhere. Has to,
he hasn't played in a hot minute, but yeah.
Oh boy, I mean,
he was a good
but he's good.
He's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
player.
I think with some of the Pacific teams as well, I think there's definitely for sure at least 3 teams I think would be an upgrade.
Okay. They also thanked Devi for no good reason, just to bait people. Literally just to troll people on Twitter.
Yeah.
They do it every year too. Always gets them.
PaperX says thanks to Devi for no other reason than just saying thanks.
Honestly,
Trolling
best organization. More players should be thanked, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm down for
man.
this.
Update, we got Finesse. PaperX wants Shanks.
Dude, the side articles are so good.
They're really good.
Ching walks out.
Ching walks out. What does he say underneath? I can't actually read it. Are they just
I remember I had
it says
read
to buy his
lines or
lunch.
something? Oh,
yeah, Jing walks out. Yeah, PaperX wants Shanks to stop, supporting
Jinxing
or something.
teams he supports.
Yeah, and then
What
the
is we
something
got
one's great
Finesse?
too.
Which
That's
one?
good, man.
Where's the
So
finesse?
we got
bottom one?
finesse.
Oh, we got
Discussing
finesse. on the
Valorant
left.
patches before GTA 6.
It's a great one.
It's
really
good, man.
It's really good. But they're just trolling. They're just trolling. DRX making a genuinely bit of an interesting move here, I think, extending BeYN's contract. BeYN was the only player whose contract ended this season, so he officially became a free agent at October 20th, as I was saying. But they've decided to extend his contract through the end of next year. I think he basically earned this at Champs. I don't know.
How are they gonna bench him in stage 1 if he's not there?
That's so true.
If they bench him again, like I am literally going on an anti-DRX tirade because I feel like he earned it last year too, at least to be given like a full year's chance when he kind of helped turn things around at Champs again last year too. They looked like they didn't even belong there last year. I mean, I guess kind of this year too, but I was very happy to hear this. It's like finally, like maybe after 5 years of having him as a trainee, benching him, selling him off, benching him again, and then benching him again, you'll finally realize that maybe you were right in the very first place when you got him as a trainee. Like he was the very first official trainee in Korea, and now he's paying off.
It should mean no changes, right, for this team. It might be one of the only teams that we see actually have no real changes.
Which makes sense when you peak.
Oh, for sure.
When
They
you
did great.
peak at Champs, right?
Yeah.
Clear best moments were at Champs.
And more to give, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say.
they're so young.
I would say
I'm
they
excited for this team. Like
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
they do stick together,
Yes.
like I'm looking forward to watching DRX next year if they do all keep it together.
Yeah.
Perhaps more than I would be if they actually did make a change.
Yeah,
I'm
I agree with that.
excited too. I mean, they've dropped Estrella, which makes sense too, right? Because he was almost surplus to requirements by the end because Marco picked up the IGLing again. Well, I'm a little bit cautious, I suppose, of the fact that they discovered something that, like, one thing that worked superbly well for them throughout Champs, which was playing that Wayla Yoru comp. And if they don't have an identity that is so clear, so well defined, they haven't actually demonstrated that they can play a range of different stuff. And
Sure, but did you not think when you watched them that, like, fundamentally they were pretty good? Like crossfires, trading, spacing, like all of that stuff was good.
they look very drilled.
It was just the Valorant side of things that let them down, made like a bit of U2 and a bit of ults.
It's very funny to say the Valorant side of
it
things.
is,
is
it
not
is.
right.
That is. Unfortunately,
It
the
is.
game they are playing is Valorant.
Dude, these guys
Hear
in
me out,
CS
though.
would be unbelievable, but yeah.
Hear me out. Hear me out. I feel like the fundamentals, like the trading, etc., was always one of the things that actually Termia and his squad shined at, right? Because every iteration eventually came out to be pretty good at that. Like even last year, I feel that was something that kept them barely alive. So what if you got someone who we know is a little bit off the rails for the Korean side of things for Valorant, who just became available on the market? Add another coach. Bring in Autumn to be your strategic coach.
Dude, I thought your ass was going to say Frost. I thought you were saying add Frost.
No.
Just to create
Yeah.
tension
That
in
would
the
be.
room.
Dude, Frost and Termi?
Frost goes to T1.
Lovers to
Frost
enemies,
goes
enemies to lovers?
No, dude, Frost goes to T1. He goes against Autumn and Termi in the big 2026 on DRX. That's a narrative, man. VCT Pacific, make it happen. That's a narrative right there.
Let's move on to Gen.G. Gen.G, by far and away the most interesting team, I think, in terms of what's going on with them in the off season.
Or maybe not.
Well, yeah, or maybe
I was
not.
gonna say.
Or maybe not.
But a lot of their players' contracts are up at the end of this season. So officially, Texture, his contract ended. Karen, his contract ended. Munchkin, his contract ended. But reminder, we don't know whether Munchkin is going off to military service or what. Lakia's contract ended. The coach's contract ended as well. They have reportedly re-signed the coaches and
Two of them.
Texture. Yes, the Solo
Just
and
two of them.
HSK.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Solo, but those are the big two, aren't they? Am I underrating the
yes.
other coaches?
Yeah.
No, I mean Perry's had a record, but he joined late into Gen.G. Like the Gen.G
Okay.
last year was solo and HSK. So
Right. So the big name coaches are back. In theory, Texture's back as well. But then also, the reporting said that Texture, Lakia, and Munchkin were likely to leave. The coaches were likely to leave. Then now the reporting says that they're re-signed. And then Arnold, who's their CEO, tweeted out saying, "Don't believe the news about us re-signing people."
well, he
So
also
my ass doesn't know what to believe, Jobra.
Arnold's just trolling for sure. He's just engagement farming because
he's just a genius, is what he is.
Yeah, he saw the Paper X thing and he was like, okay, hold up. I got something similar for that.
Yeah, no, he's just trying to get the engagement payment from X so that he can pay the players again. Like that, he's just trying to get them back.
That's the TMV money he's trying to get.
So I think Arnold part's whatever. I mean, I guess I don't know what to think. Actually, I agree. I don't know what to think just because I wouldn't be too surprised, but also I don't think there's any reason, right? Necessarily. Like it just felt like it was more of a meta thing. Yeah, I think it was more of a meta thing, and then it took them too long to figure out how to get their comms and meta like online with Ash and Foxy9. And so, I would
also
I would have been fine if they ran it
coach
back.
is what they need.
Yeah,
yes.
They choked
Yes.
after being they were one of the best teams of the year, really, and they let it slip in big games after being up. They were always up and let it slip.
Yeah.
The G in Gen.G stands for gentle mates. They got to the finish line, they couldn't convert.
Generational gentlemates. That's
Generational gentlemates.
Do you think we'll see if we're assuming that DRX are kind of locked, and we're also not hearing anything coming out of the T1 camp, then Gen.G kind of have to be locked because you don't have places to send people as much. You don't have like a big shuffle occurring. But when you're at the end of your contract, if you are a Texture or a Karen or someone and you're at the end of the contract, surely you're shopping around and you're like, are you sure you don't want me?
I mean, you do that anyway, yeah. But didn't some of these players do this last year as well?
Yeah, Munchkin specifically. Yeah.
So,
Do you know anything about the military service, Joba?
dude,
I just want to say that it's like unless he messes up, then from what he tweeted out, it's like 99% sure he's not going to military service and he will be playing, or he's at least looking actively for a team, because no Korean in their right mind is going to post that they're going on a new adventure with a heart because they're going to a 2-year mandatory military service. Nobody is saying that. No man in Korea is ever going to say that publicly. So I'm pretty sure I have seen players in other esports that have said like, I'm going to extend, and then they come to the qualifiers and they're like, actually I have to enlist in 5 days because I messed up my application. So like, maybe he messes up, but you have to like apply to delay it. So you have to say that, hey, I have like these certificates for like why I'm delaying my service, because otherwise it's mandatory. So, and then there's like different things. Also, technically, if he's qualified for it, he can actually go to like a different service than the frontline armed forces, so that he can actually enlist all the way late until like 32. Yeah, like all the way up to 32. But that's more complicated as well. So, but I'm pretty sure like. Yeah, he was very clear that he was going to play another year after they got eliminated. I think his tweet makes it very clear that he is already kind of cleared to extend. Also, he technically doesn't even have to extend because he has to extend by a couple months because it's by year. So he will be 28 next year, and he could delay until fall, and he would still be within the valid age requirement of going.
Oh, so he could just do it in like the off season or something at the end.
Yeah, he can go to the military like October or something, and he could play the year out.
All right, well that's cool to know. What do you think is the most likely outcome for Gen.G? Do you think the most likely is that we just see the same team run it back?
I would say similar. Or I could see like a 4 out of the 5 kind of vibe.
The thing that makes me think that it should be is if it was the other two out of contract, your Foxy9 and your Ash, right, that we were talking about, you could see them being like, oh, we can maybe find an upgrade here, right? There might be someone that we'd like a bit more. Are you gonna find? I mean, Texture, if Texture is re-signed and there is no trolling, then that's Texture. Then are you gonna find someone who's definitely better than Karen? Probably not. And then are you gonna find an IGL who you trust more than Munchkin? Probably not. So I just feel like if for them, I think it makes the most sense to just re-sign everyone, because I find it unlikely they're gonna find someone better. But whether, like you say, someone, and it doesn't just have to be the Korean teams. Maybe Zeta Division decide this is our year and let's go sign a Karen.
Could T1 lure them away for a true super team kind of?
Well, build? Go on. Well, now we're getting back to you. Who are you getting rid of in T1?
I don't know. I guess I genuinely don't know, but like, would putting Buzz on Senti and Texture on Duelist or something, and then I don't know. I just mean, could you stack a team with more talent than currently exists in these Korean squads?
Or are they kind of maxed out? Stacks?
Yes.
I
Yes,
think
I
that's-
would.
That I would do.
That's probably
no
the
offense to
one.
Stacks, but yeah,
Munchkin's just good with it, really,
Yeah.
calling wise.
yeah.
So then, yeah, maybe.
I mean, T1 definitely can. I think financially they could definitely try to lure them away for sure.
Yeah, they got the bag.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
It could be
maybe there's more to
the
watch.
people are thinking that Gen.G might be holding off because they want to see who makes it through Ascension, because the players on SLT and Nongshim look good. So if either of them don't make it, IGL I guess is still it's tough to replace someone like Munchkin, but players you might.
Okay.
Like everyone, we'll talk about it later, but both of those, especially SLT, is looking real solid mechanically.
Let's talk about it now. Why not? Let's have a look. Pacific Ascension is it's kind of like just over halfway through. If you're coming into it right now, I feel like you're coming into it at quite a nice time. We'll go over some of the stuff that you've missed, and we'll set up some of the matches and like predictions for what's going on. Now, I got into it a little bit late as well. I only started watching once it got to the playoffs. I didn't watch the group stage. So I'm going to lean on Chobra here, who I know has been following a lot of it. So group stage, you've got, Japanese team not doing so well, Australian team not doing so well. I feel like is that just kind of expected outcomes? Did you see a glimpse of anything going on there?
I mean, Riddle, I wasn't that big on. But I also wasn't that big on them last year. I just think that they get by with a certain style in Japan because of how everyone else plays. They also weren't that stable throughout this year, so it was kind of sad to see that they had 0 wins. But
you don't see like a big player that could go into Zeta or ZFM.
Yatsuka looked fine, but it's also just like, dude, Seldom continues to have this overheating that happens whenever they start losing, and then things fall apart. I think they tried to go a lot more aggressive than they did last year because that was their weakness last year, and then now they've kind of lost the cohesion they had last year, and maybe that's part of the roster change. But Yatsuka would be the only one. I mean, unless you trial JoJo as an IGL for a Japanese squad, because he can IGL in Japanese, so like that would still be, I think, worth a trial. But Yatsuka looks promising, but is he a May? Like, I don't think so, right? Like, we're not seeing that. So that's about it for Riddle. And then E-King was personally my dark horse just because I thought also it'd be kind of cool to have an Oceania team. They've always, the Bonkers core were aimers in 2023 as well. And dude, they looked disappointing, man. I don't know how else to put it. They looked, not great. Not clean. The aim diff was there too. They could have gotten at least 1 win, but it was rough.
They had a tough group as well, I think. I mean,
they did, yeah.
SLT and Boom are on the Group Alpha side. Those are the 2 teams in the upper bracket at the moment in the playoffs. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, because we're going to run through who we think is actually going to do well in playoffs. But just going back to the groups, the other group was super interesting. So can you run us through what the hell was going on in that group with Velocity Gaming? Because so many people so excited about this team because they win 3 matches off rip, and then in order to take the number 1 seed, all they had to do was take a map off Nongshim. They didn't even have to beat them. They take the map 1, and then at that point, they're chilling. You don't need to win anything else.
Yeah.
And then in the playoffs, we watched them and they were booty cheeks. So what was going on in the group stage to make them look good? Like, are they actually good and they underperformed in playoffs? Are they bad but were playing against even worse teams? What's happening out here?
So I think for the goods are very clear. Their prep was very, very good. They had amazing trap plays with the breach. They clearly had good anti, and their timeouts were amazing. Like Russ and Godspeed the coach, and then Russ is the main IGL, and then Madeline's their sub IGL. But like, those guys would always turn things around in timeouts. So even when they were losing, like the moment they call a timeout during the group stage, you were like, okay, they're going to adjust. And they would make the right adjustments. Like, they would just have the reads afterwards. So their downloading was pretty good. But something I kept saying until they finally got the map win against Nongshim as well was like, but when you play a breach comp in the big 2025, like, you have limits. And at some point, surely this gets exposed. And then it didn't throughout the group stage, just because I think they adapted well enough during timeouts. So I was like, okay. I mean, in Challengers, sometimes, you just need a good timeout. Like, that's the difference maker against other tier 2 teams. So that's why I was so big on him. I was like, okay, like these guys know how to adapt after a couple of rounds. Like, these guys are going to friggin' kill it. And then Boom comes out and they're like, we actually know Russ isn't going to do anything until he fully uses all his util. So we'll just wait to flood the site every time until every piece of util is used. And then Velocity had nothing to defend their sites with. So it was just like a hard prep from Boom, I think.
Yeah, they look pretty preps. They were just flanking all the time. I mean, dude, Velocity just 5-man. They're just 5-man CS everywhere. And then they just, all that was happening is around the other side of the map, Boom were just taking space. They only really defaulted like 3 times out of 2 maps. I think they got heavy exposed on the maps as well. They got through groups without playing bind. Dude, they had the NRG's map pool, basically, where they're just not good at bind and not good at sunset, and they had to play both. I don't really understand the sunset pick from what I saw. They didn't look too comfy on it. But I think they've been winning all their Lotuses right in groups, and so they kind of got away with like one map that they're pretty sick at, and probably they have protocols to make it a little bit easier for their calling. And then, dude, when they got to bind, I was just watching. I was like, oh man, these guys are lost here. It's just 5-person, just sight hit, just look like ranked, to be honest.
Yeah, it was tragic. I mean, they weren't even doing like a 4-1 with a lurker to try to give them an option or control the flank from behind. It was literally 5-person hits like every single round. There was a timeout where they started like calling some slower rounds towards the end of that half on bind, and I was like, oh, they actually can run some slower, more defaulty rounds.
Did they won one of their rounds of it?
Yeah, I think it was 10, 11, 12. They tried to slow the rounds down a little bit, and they won 2 out of 3 of those. And I was like, all right, well then maybe it was just bad prep from the coaches or something. And then we went into Sunset and they were just doing it again. They were just doing the 5-person hits again on Sunset constantly. And so I was like, I don't get what was going on there.
I do think there's something that I had said when I was watching the match was I think they kind of overcompensated based on how SLT beat Boom in the group stage, because SLT was running it down, just out trading Boom. Especially on Sunset.
What they don't understand is SLT don't think.
Yes, exactly, exactly. No, straight up. Like it's like you try to copy paper X, you can't copy paper X, right? And I think I want to give them the benefit of the doubt of Velocity thinking, okay, we exposed a lot of like our prepared plays. Let's see what Boom was bad at. Let's try to like even bigger death ball rush. But you're not SLT. Like you're not just brainlessly running down and then trading. Like that's not the only thing you're thinking about. And then also bind, I think a big thing was I think Damara was so used to having someone fully set him up with the breach, and then obviously that's one of the maps where they don't play breach, and he just kind of had to make space on his own, and he was really struggling. Like you could see him visibly, like mentally getting broken down, because normally he was like popping off and yelling at the enemy team, and he was not having a good game.
Well, that's Velocity then, and they've got a really interesting upcoming game against Nongshim. I mean, this all started, Chobra, I want to remind you, when Velocity played against Nongshim, and you started supporting, for some goddamn reason, Velocity instead of the org that you are literally paid.
No. I thought Velocity were the favorites by the time they got to that match, but I still desperately wanted Nongshim to 2-0 so that they could get the top seeds.
I thought you were rooting for them. I've been told that you were rooting for Velocity.
No, I was rooting for Velocity as soon as that ended, because what I wanted was for Velocity to knock Boom down, so we could finally actually banish Boom Esports to the Shadow Realm forever, because they snuck into VCT in 2025.
What a generation!
Snuck into VCT as if Boom wouldn't have been better than Bleed. Who's paying you on Bleed?
No one famously is paying anyone on Bleed. Okay, let's then take a look at the playoffs games. So one of the teams that we haven't discussed too much is SLT, but you were talking about them earlier on. Dude, the game I was watching against Naus, they are pressing their buttons. They are pressing buttons on the keyboard, man. Watching Zikz is like, I don't know if you remember back to like 2020 CNED, where he would get stuck in a difficult position and he'd just be like, dash, updraft, turns around in the 360 circle, cloud burst, up, down, It's like he's trying to do fighting game combos sometimes to escape from scenarios. And then I was watching Klaus just force fights over and over and over again. But they're clearly very skilled, because they are rolling people in aim duels.
They're nice, and they're pretty drilled. Like on that Haven game, if you watch it back, your first 4 buy v buys, they go over towards a B against a no breach comp, and they were never holding front B, so they always got the plant down. Like if you go to every single buy round, they just hit B, and then on their ecos, they like go A, go C, big buy rounds, go over towards B again, and they never shut it down in front of B. So they have like good game plans. Dude, the Zuna kid's crazy good.
Zuna.
He's probably one of the best solvers I've seen for a while. He's really good, man. His util's good. His game sense is good. He's aiming good. I was looking at some of his stats again. I've only seen one game, and I was like, Jesus, who's this guy, man? Like, he's just popping. He just wasn't really making too many mistakes. And then the rest of his teams are lunatics. And he just kind of cleans it up.
Yeah.
That's literally what's happening, yeah.
He's got the lunatic buff.
Yeah, it really is. He doesn't have to make any risky plays just because he's got 4 people in his team that are down to do it.
Yeah,
my question for you about this team is, because they played, they played Jet Yoru both maps, right?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about this team, like, long term. Is that something that they're just like, they just have an identity of like double duelist? We're just gonna send it every single map. Like, do you like if they made it, would they just stick with this and just every map we're gonna be aggressive, every map we're gonna play double duelist, every map we're just gonna run in?
I mean, I think they would, for one, struggle if they did make it and played the same comps. I don't think it flies in Tier 1 against the top. I think they would do just enough as like Nongshim and Boom did, right? Like, you'd be good enough to try to get into playoffs. But the funny thing is they actually changed their Haven comp to the Jet. They used to not play the Jet. So I think this came because of how well they were doing on Sunset. They also, their Haven they lost one game 3-13, and then they won their other game. So it was like, you could tell there was some iffiness when they were playing the Gen.G comp. Because, I mean, we just talked about it, right? Like, you guys described how they play. That is not how you play the Gen.G Viper comp at all. So it wasn't working for them. So I think they just thought, all right, Zexy's so comfortable on the Jet. We don't care if it's not like meta. Like, he can actually buy so much time and space and frags. So I think that was just a change they made, and it's working out.
Also, just something that I like, and I've been seeing a good amount just during Ascension, kind of from all the regions, just the gun abuse as well. Like, marshals against the ecos, outlaws constantly, judges on big Byrons if they're going fast and they get them over towards the site. A couple of Odins here and there. Like, the whole gun understanding's got way better of just abusing these guns. So I like that a lot, man. We've seen some nice stuff from a lot of these teams, but I do think SLT has been like the one team out of honestly all of the Ascensions that have come out and been like, damn, like, this team's nice. Like,
Really?
really nice. Yeah.
I think that they're too crazy. They are just too crazy. When I was watching them on Sunset here, this map where they were playing against Naus, I think the first 8 rounds in a row or something, Klaus on Chamber just jumped through a one-way A main and took a fight while they were also taking a solo fight.
Yeah, but that's your Chamber default over towards A, because you can TP out. I agree, he doesn't take his TP enough, but it's still a good default.
Okay, he's taking that fight every single round as they're also taking fights through the other areas of the map, and he's like committing to try to take the duel. He's not just like.
But he can give the info back. It's a nice default. It's actually one of the. It's like old Apex in 2023 or 2024 when they used to play chamber aggro, where you can like
give the info back. But he's dead every round. He gives
he
does.
Yeah,
Omen killed me again.
he does need to TP out, but they're getting like good info of how many numbers there are there, or if he can call back his team. Like, it is nice. It just means that the one way is doing nothing. But I agree. He needs to use his TP more if he gets util out.
Yeah, I mean the theory is nice, right? You have 3 guys who can get away for free. You have Jet who can't TP, but they can always dash, and then you have the Chamber, and then you have the Yoru, and then you have 2 of those that can really abuse the Judge and the Op, and all 3 of them can abuse the Op. And I agree that I think they figured out the gun like meta and abuse for sure, the best at Pacific. Meta wise, like comp wise, I mean, I do think this is kind of limited, and I don't believe it'll work well in Tier 1, like not bottom tier, but I don't think it would fly just because obviously they got better as the tournament went on. But for those of you who have missed it, you guys have to go watch SLT versus NKT's Ascent, because that is the other end. They ended up winning it, but that is the other end of what this same Valorant can look like, of just brawls. And it's
I'm seeing it right now. It's 20 to 18. What?
You know what? The best part about this is NKT probably only ever hit A site once on attack, and they like SLT still couldn't figure out how to block them on B site for the longest time. Like, it was, or they couldn't figure out how to beat it because SLT was also just holding the same thing because they were on the same side every single time. But it's just like there is a limit, I think, with how they play eventually when you meet other aimers who will aim back. Like, if Klaus continues pushing that far, like jumping through a one-way onto a slow orb, and then he dies, then he doesn't get info. So
I mean, I think that's a lot of Tier 2 at the moment, though. You watch it and you're you'll get punished for this in Tier 1. But
Agreed.
I think they're skilled enough to do it.
They skilled.
I'm curious because I have I've talked about my thoughts on this, but if from what you guys have seen, do you get the same vibe of SPG last year from SLT? Because that's what a lot of people are.
Yeah. It is very
but
similar.
I think the difference, though, Chobra, is for now Nongshim, than Simpreza is. They had their kind of very style of like the neon, fade prowler, Fade Prowler, Neon sliding in, doing that. They also, played a lot of Viper, which then they did continue this year as well. I think that they found some success with that because that's actually like the comps that they went and their direction was actually a bit different to what most other teams do. My worry for this is Pacific teams have seen people play double duelist and run at them. That's the most Pacific strat of all time. True. Like everyone's seen that, and you're gonna be playing against better players some of the time at least. And it's just not gonna work the same as like for instance when Nongshim played against Gen.G and beat them, right? And they're playing their style and it works for them. And then maybe we saw as well for Nongshim sometimes they'd get anti-strat the next week or the week after, and then they would lose on those same maps that they had won. I just feel like even the first map, this might not work where you're playing Jet Yoru against Pacific teams. And it's like, yeah, we've been here for 5 years playing against double duelist comps. We know what to do against it. I would worry for them a bit in tier 1.
It might be a good meta for them though.
It might be a good meta for them.
Yeah.
And also they are very skilled. So I don't think they would get destroyed because they do have good players, assuming they stick together.
Mm-hmm. I'm just watching this clutch play out. I didn't get to see this map, but yeah, that looks like a sick way of the game to end. Let's talk about some of the matches that are coming up then. So let's talk bold predictions. So 2 teams get to qualify for Pacific Ascension. They've got a double elimination tournament. So the team that wins the upper bracket final and the team that wins the lower bracket final, basically, are your 2 teams that have qualled. So you've got SLT and Boom in the uppers. In the lowers, you have Velocity playing Nongshim, Naus playing Motive.
Yeah.
Bold predictions. We each have to pick 2 teams who's going to qualify through the Pacific Ascension. Da-da-da-da. Okay, we actually all have different answers. All right, I'll start with me because I've just been really boring. I've just gone for the teams in the upper bracket. Okay, I'm just actually the most boring guy in existence. The Nongshim picks from the people on the outside, Chobra and TMV, they have to battle through the lower bracket. So what's giving you the faith there that they're going to be able to beat Velocity and at some point SLT or Boo? Well, I guess in your world, it'd have to be they beat SLT.
SLT, yeah.
Yeah. Chobra, do you want to take it or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first because everyone's going to say I'm simply being biased, so.
Which you are, but anyway, for me, I mean, look, this Velocity run, this this wonderful time that they've had, like you, Sideshow, I didn't see it. So with my own eyes, I've only seen poop. So I worry for them because I'm not sure how good they actually are. And I think that Nongshim, who have been a little shaky in this tournament, I'm sure Chobra will tell us more about that. But I think that Nongshim can win their first game. And their second game, whoever it would be against, a Naus maybe or Motive, whoever comes through, I think that they again probably would be the better team and favored for that game. And if they get to the lower final and they play against SLT, which is what I have happening, I think that's where the confidence, the mentality that we have done this before, you haven't. We know that Korean mental, even on the best Korean teams, can be weak at times. And I just think that they'll have the big dog confidence of we're the big boys, you're the little boys, we know what we're doing, you don't, we've done this before. And I think that the mental side will carry them through. Because I think, like on technical skill level, yeah, they probably would be a pretty close game. But I'm saying mentally they will be able to beat SLT.
We know, by the way, in that lower bracket final, does the team that comes from the uppers, because it's a BO5, because it qualifies you, do they get map veto there because they came from the uppers?
I don't think so. But
I don't think so, but I think if they're going to keep the same schedule, I do think they should because they have to play back-to-back BO5s one evening into the next day.
Yeah,
so
they probably should, yeah.
I think they 100... Like the upper final, sure not, right? Because it's just it's just turned in, but... I do think, and I say this, obviously it wouldn't be helpful for Nongshim, but I do think whoever comes down has to get at least double map ban if they don't change the schedule for the upper final to be the first match of that day, because that's brutal.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But I haven't heard otherwise, so like I am a little worried that they don't get double map ban.
No, I think it might be even, just because it's like a game earlier, right? So you do the same rules that applied to the...
Like if you use the rules from like VCT tournaments, like it's like, well, you both lost a game, so...
Yeah. That's what if it continues, not that we should ever use logic for this stuff, but if it continues for how the years have been, it should be they each get a ban.
That was just a bit of a tangent, though. Sliggy, I do want to go to you because you have entirely different teams to TMV and Chobra. I'm with you with the SLT. Where's the Nous coming from? I know that you were talking about SLT earlier, so I can understand why you think they're going to be able to beat Boom. That makes sense to me. Where's the Nous belief coming from?
My only worry is that they're chokers. I think they choke when they have a good lead. But if I actually look at what was going on from the 4 teams that played yesterday, I felt like they were the second best team that I watched. I think they looked more drilled and together than Boom, personally, in my opinion. Even though Boom absolutely stomped Velocity, still from what I saw, I was like, man, as long as if they didn't choke, then I think they would go far. So I felt like they had more potential, and I think that SLT win against Boom from what I saw, and then I just kind of have belief that they'll run lower bracket. But I will say I haven't seen Motive play, so I don't really know if I should be considering them higher.
You're fine.
Damn, bro. Okay. That's absolutely savage.
It's just true.
For anyone who didn't see that SLT Nous game that Sliggy's referring to as a choke, Nous were neck and neck with them for a while, and then just completely couldn't get anything together towards the end of Sunset, and then just I think tilted into oblivion for Haven. They looked like they were completely out of it there as well.
I mean, they just got out game plans on Haven, which I think is hopefully something they can just learn from the VOD. I think it should be a fast, basically the coaches just need to call a faster timeout and work out what was going on earlier. So I think that's one of those things that would happen once of buy rounds we spam here. I don't know if they learn fast. I think from what I saw, they looked like the second most drilled team that I saw. That's just what I'm going with.
Okay, all right. So
who's winning the upper final in your
SLT?
SLT, because he has SLT
I'm
going.
talking to Josh.
Oh, okay.
Because he's got both.
Oh,
to
yeah.
me,
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think Boom should be able to win that one. So I've got Boom winning the upper finals. The reason is that I think that, I mean, do I know much about this? No, because I haven't been watching the group stage. So we're coming into this fairly ignorant. I got to be honest. But I think that the ability to shut down the bit more mindless aggression is going to help them with a bit of the entry in. And I think that the creation of a very clear, good game plan to counter what their opponent was doing was very evident in the Boom game too. And I think that is a big strength. I think once you're already able to completely change the way that you play the game just to dismiss what your opponent's doing, I think that demonstrates a pretty high level that they should be able to carry forwards into the next. I think they're probably lacking a bit in terms of the firepower department, but I don't think it'll matter. I still feel good about them.
I just want to add on to what Sliggy was saying about Nous, because I think originally I had Nous as the best looking team after all of their first matches in the group stage. And the only reason Velocity went above them for me was because in their matchup in the group stage, Velocity came better prepped, despite both of them having seen each other's comps and plays. So I just thought, okay, Nous might not have as much of the adaptation, but also, yeah, and then they're, the classic Filipino org choking situation started coming back. So we'll see if they can pull through on that. But I wouldn't be surprised, because I think they definitely have good fundamentals, and the Xavi's calling is actually really solid. And I hope that if they don't make it, I hope at least Xavi is getting looked at by teams who need an IGL.
I think there's a few people that you would look at as well. I would have loved to have picked Velocity for this, man, but you can't win. You can't win a tournament.
They'll be happy we didn't.
I mean, yeah, for sure. You can't win a tournament that is this many games with this playstyle.
I want to know Chobra's unbiased take on Nongshim, though.
The unbiased take, and
I want his unbiased take.
I mean,
he's not going to give it to us.
No, I mean, here is the as unbiased as it can get. I do think Nongshim is getting better and better. No, I do think they have improved better and better. It was their first match against Nous was to the point where I literally said, if they play even remotely close to this, they are going to go 0-4 in the groups. They played miserably. I just completely called them out on that entirely. So I do think they've definitely improved. I think the biggest weakness now is actually Xros's mental, because I think he's proven that mechanically he can perform, but obviously he gets pretty shaky. Even in their match against Velocity in that first map, you could see he was completely destroyed by Velocity and how they kind of punished him a lot. But now, you've played against them. You thought you had prep. You lost the Lotus to it, but you still had other ones. You saw the map pool. It's been exposed, right? Boom kind of helping us out with exposing all the weaknesses. So I think if they can beat Velocity, I think now also I'm just not seeing as quick adaptation match to match. Motive, I do think, is the clear worst team out of the 6, so I'm not as concerned. And then I believe Boom is going to win, at which point I think SLT... No. I think Boom is going to win. Because I'm not actually fully on board with SLT's map pool of being able to run it down with Double Duelist on enough maps to win. Like, they do run Double Duelist on more than 3 maps, but I think other than the Sunset, it will get... Like, the Sunset might be the only one where it just seems so out of this world that people won't be able to adapt to it fast enough. But I think if you have teams like Boom and Nongshim who have played against that style... They've seen how to counter it. They've experienced it themselves. I think both of those the experience gap will come against SLT specifically, I think.
Well, let's move on from Pacific. And before we move on completely to EMEA and bring in Minny and Bonkar and say goodbye to TMV and Chobra for now, I want to discuss China very briefly, because just in terms of Chinese Ascension, it's already over. It's already happened. And DRG retains their tier 1 spot. I think that's the expectation. That's what we all thought was going to happen. There was a bit of a wobble in there when they lost to a team called Any Questions, which was Simon's team, which is really funny. You had a game which was like an elimination game in playoffs where DRG was rematching them. So it was a rematch game where DRG had already lost the first time around. And you have the team that made the grand finals playing a BO5 against a world champ on the other team in tier 2 Ascension. I mean, that is a sick narrative.
It was there were some pretty good games in here. There was a few maps that were like storms though. In the DRG, Any Questions, was it the Haven that was really good? That was the one. Dude, I still can't get over how many times these Chinese teams get eco'd, dude. I will never get over it. It's non-stop, man. They win more ecos than they win anti-ecos. It's insanity to me. But DRG, dude, when they got to the final, they stomped.
Yeah,
they looked so comfy. They looked so much more confident. And I will say that Spirits was just playing like a beast, man.
He looks amazing, doesn't he?
He looks so, he's just out aiming.
He looks insane.
Yeah.
Some of the shit that he was hitting. I was thinking back to our episode we had with Alan on, because when he was on the show and he was gassing up Spirit as like the best aimer he'd ever seen in China, I was thinking, well, I think the guy's good, but I don't know about best aimer I've ever seen. Like, that seems a bit high praise. And then I was watching these matches and I was like, maybe I have not been paying attention to Spirit enough, because my God, he's insane.
Like, I get it. My chat would talk. My chat were talking about it because it's like he makes plays that you shouldn't be going for them, but he wins so many of the plays that you shouldn't go for that you've just got to let him go for them. Like, he wins like 3 out of 4, 5 out of 6 kind of mad plays that you're just like, go on, man, just you do your own thing. You don't want to put a leash on him just because he's so mechanically, dude, he's just better than people at this level. It's as simple as that. He was just out aiming everyone, swinging everything.
He's already really good in tier 1 as well, but then you put him down into tier 2 and he's just owning. Ackerman's aim is phenomenal as well. I think give him more time on the Waylay and they've got a nasty, nasty opportunity to run over people with Yori Waylay.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like, DRG were in a pretty unique spot where they actually made champs. Like, they in almost all situations would have been fine anyway and not even needed to do this. Like, it would have been kind of tragic to make champs and then not make it back to tier 1. That would have been a bit of a travesty. So I think overall we've ended up in a good spot. But rare atom.
Exactly. The tragedy goes both ways, because the grand final, you've got one organization who made it to champs and then had a sub, so they got kind of cast back down to Ascension, and you're like, oh my God, it would be terrible if Dragon Ranger lost. On the other side, you have an org that has lost 3 grand finals to get promoted to tier 1.
Rough.
I mean, this is the 3rd. But different teams, by the way, completely different teams. It's only Midnight who was there last year. And the year before that, though, it was a completely different roster. But the org, I think you have to say, is almost... You've got to give them credit for their scouting, because they've been able to get to that spot every time. Yeah, but man, it feels like a Chobra-esque curse on them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say the one thing that we have to say is, so at the end of 2026, like... right, are going to reevaluate and just invite people to franchising. Dude, if this team doesn't get in, then I just lose faith. Like G2 and Red Atom should be the sure bets of like who gets in. Really?
You mean in terms of the
partnership.
scouting and like what they've done in tier 2 and that kind
Mate,
of stuff?
if you're funding tier 2 with how bad it is at the moment for 3 years solid, you get to the final for all 3 years, and in 2026 they turn around and they don't invite you to partnership, I'd be fucking furious. I'd be absolutely furious. I would never touch esports again if I was part of the org. No, you would have no faith. You would have no faith. Like if they don't get in, there's no justice. Straight up.
That's the strongest take from Sliggy we've had all episode.
Yeah, it came out of a left field. The rare atom justice.
Rare atom, my boys. Justice for rare atom. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it. I mean, it's a short recap, but it was a somewhat it was a somewhat interesting tournament where DRG, the massive favorites, did end up winning in the end. There's some cool stuff going on though. If you wanted to go back and check some of the VODs. But for now, are we going to a short break because we are swapping quite a few players?
Players?
Yeah,
we got
it's a
players.
transfer
show. Who's in? Who's in? Coach?
It looks like they're here and ready to go, so we can swap right into them.
Well, let's hot swap them then. So thank you very much to TMV and Chobra, but your contracts have expired. We might bring TMV back in the future, depending on how good he looks in his time in tier 2. And congratulations to Minny and Bonkar for the promotion.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye for now. Oh, am I going to drop down?
Oh, look at that.
He's disappeared. Oh, and now I'm completely out of my element because now I'm surrounded by 2 coaching greats and Sliggy.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that. Could see that one coming a mile off. Yeah.
How are you doing? I'll start with Bonkar. I mean, holy shit, what a tournament for you at Champs. I mean, it's not necessarily relevant to what we're talking about in the show, but I can't intro without just being like, congrats for an insane run.
Thank you so much. I'm doing good. I'm home in Sweden right now, so just recovering, trying to take it easy, and just, working on 5th because of Sam, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that treacherous little rat.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Huh?
I know. And he seems so unlikable as well. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is definitely the problem with him.
So, again, before we dive in as well, just in terms of like this year, can you explain a little bit like what it was like for you guys? Because you were in NRG, then you're out of NRG, then you're back, and they've made changes. And what's been a bit of the journey towards that Champs win towards the end of the year?
I mean, it was super bumpy the entire year, all the way from the off season when we were like winning a lot, and then obviously to underperforming in kickoffs, and then the vacation I got was pretty nice to to regain some energy and stuff. But then coming back into the team, it was just full grind all the time because we were so behind. And at the start, it was still the Teo meta in the EWC qualifier. So like rebuild everything for Teo meta with, Scuba coming in, like scrap everything, redo, and just go for EWC. And then just after that, the Teo nerfs came in. Yeah, so we had to redo everything again for stage 2 and for EWC. I think the hardest part with everything and what worked in then was just getting everyone to believe that we could actually do it, because we felt even coming into EWC that we were really good, and then just having the mindset for stage 2 of like pretty much gotta win every single game to make it to champs, that was
like, you had almost no
one.
champs points. I think you had like 2 champs points or something coming in. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was you basically had to make the finals to qual.
Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, we spoke about stage 2, as I said, and was like, guys, we need to win like every single group stage match, and then we come into 100 Thieves and just insta lose, and I was like, okay, guys, that's it.
It's a little harder. Yeah.
Now that we've got the coaches here, though, I did want to get your opinion. We kind of kicked this along from the Pacific topic just to get your takes on it. But RRQ's coach Ewok has taken a break from coaching the team, and I think he said Sliggy, remind me. I think this was like his decision to take a break on other areas of his life, right? Rather than RIQ wanted to make a change.
He said this isn't. Yeah, he said it was his choice. This isn't the last bit of coaching he's going to do, but he just wants to take a break. Yeah, I thought it was good to just kind of change this from to have Minny and Bonkar here just purely because I think all of our coaching experiences are different. I got this person in chat asking me like, what's the hardest thing about coaching? And it's just like, dude, I think it's different for each coach because I think each team is like completely different. I've talked to Minny about my struggles, and because of Boaster, he really didn't have any of those struggles. So I think a lot of the time it just takes a lot out of you, and it can always be different factors. So I get the decision from him, and he's been doing it for like 3 years now as well. And Minny, this was one of the reasons that you kind of stopped as well, right? It's just it's hard to do it for a long time, especially this year as well. Bonkar, you'll be able to talk about this. Like it changed so much that like you were saying already that you had to do Teo meta. There were map changes in there as well. Like this year's been so stacked. I can understand how everyone and coaches especially just be like, damn, like we just don't have enough time to be able to prep as good as we want to.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely
TMV and Chobra on as well.
Oh God, it saved all my old stuff. That's so. I mean, power outage. There we go. Sweet.
Nice.
I think we might be live again.
Back.
Oh, we're back. Okay. Here we go. We had a little power outage. Kurt said he heard a jackhammer and then suddenly all of his power went out. So someone somewhere is sabotaging, and I can't prove it, but I think they were paid by Ascent to take down TMV. They just got the timing wrong. We were talking about Ewok taking a break from coaching, and Sliggy was saying that there were just a ton of moves, a ton of changes to the league this year, Bonkar.
Again, I think it's a pretty good time to like take a break as well with the massive patch coming in. So like you can watch a lot of games and learn a lot from the outside, because I do think when you're in it all the time, you kind of get inside of a bubble, so to say, and it's really healthy to go step outside of it and like pop it and get just a completely fresh view of everything wherever you land in a new team.
I presume he's in a pretty privileged position where he's able to do that because he's been quite successful. Whereas I don't think many coaches can probably step away like that, I'd imagine. Yeah, what Sliggy was saying though is like I think there is consistency between coaches though. I think that the main struggle is just the time and pressure. Like the amount of time that we spend doing nonsense. Like I did like a bunch of stuff this year that's different and worked pretty hard, but it was still like 50% of head coaching. Like it's so difficult to be a head coach if you want to be very good, in my opinion. So I think it's just a lot of burnout, to be honest.
I mean, you were saying though, Minny, this year that your challenges were super different to your challenges on FNATIC. Like the team's approach and their way of thinking about the game was just so different. I know in interviews you've talked about your own coaching this year as being like you know what your solution would be and what your solution on FNATIC would be. Yeah. But that's not how PaperX would necessarily want to approach things.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that like I had none of the issues of time. How do I say this? I didn't have to spend as much time working with PaperX to help them, and it was like more a part-time kind of thing, I'd say. And then zero pressure for me because I didn't think that it was like it didn't feel the same, if that makes sense. Like they have their core identity, and I don't feel like it's my fault if they win or lose as much. So I think head coaching is just way different, where you just take on the entire burden. Like you are the reason why you're losing or winning is basically how I see it when you're a head coach.
Yeah, it's stressful. I can understand taking a break for sure. Especially dude, 3 years is long. It really is.
Yes.
I want to go talk about some of these roster moves that have been happening in EMEA and then Ascension afterwards. So let's start with Team Liquid. So Team Liquid they're in a bit of a weird spot, actually. They've allowed paTiTek to explore his options. He was on a contract, I believe, until 2026. They don't have Kiko because Kiko contract ended in 2025. So Kiko is out there in the wild world, let off the leash, and has apparently been trialing for people as a duelist in North America was the rumor/report that was going around. What do you think? What do you think is the best outcome here for Team Liquid? Surely they would want to retain Kiko at all costs because he was such a nutty player for them this year.
I mean, I thought the obvious solution. I thought that Team Liquid are in a great position to just like level up what they achieved this year by keeping the core of Nats, Kiko, and probably Trex. From the outside, that's how it looks. And then the reports and little rumors about the team just not getting on have come out a little bit. So there's clearly something weird happening. Because otherwise,
the report was between Trex, Patty, and Kiko, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So something's happening in that team that's not healthy. I presume. I've heard a little bit too. I don't know. Something seems off because it seemed like there was like obvious like. To me, unfortunately for Camo, I think that you upgrade Camo. Patty is on the kind of borderline between like how important is he as a glue player or not, but as a firepower player, you can upgrade. So it's unfortunate that from the outside it looked like a very obvious 3 core, and then Coach Lohan stays, and it's turned into a disaster class where it might just be Nats left alive.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough. I think their ending didn't help as well from champs. Like, I think sometimes you can pull stuff together if you have like a really good champs, but man, it's such a bomb out at champs that it's gonna.
But if we go to the start of the year and look where we thought Team Liquid would be, like I wouldn't have put them above mid-table, and then like to come out the other side, like I know that they had rough international tournaments, but like I thought they did very good with what they built, and like I thought they made a foundation to pop off next year, and apparently they didn't. Like, it's what it seems like.
Yeah. I think the big thing for them is just that they get to keep Nats at least, because they had an IGL problem before, like they didn't have an IGL, and it's the first year for Nats IGLing, and he obviously did a very good job. So I think however they, or wherever they decide to rebuild, the big thing is just like, you can even completely rebuild around Nats. You only need like 3 or 4 months of like hard grinding in Valorant, and you can be a top team with a new team, to be honest. So I think Nats is the most important one, and then just get a better team dynamic around him.
I think Nats has been so good as an IGL that he's actually like a talent magnet at this point. I think there's some people that are so good that people want to play with them. And I think that Nats is that kind of level where, like last year when he wasn't calling and he was just kind of like, he was in 2024, it felt like he was in a bit of like a tail off period where he wasn't the dominant Nats Senti that you'd known in the past. And maybe he'd end up phased out, and now he's really rebounded to being utterly dominant on both his role and his calling. I think this is like, it's the kind of thing where we'll talk about FNATIC later on, but it's the kind of thing where I could see Chronicle being like, hey, you want to get the boys back together for Gambit? Like I enjoyed playing with Nats before. Why not? Let's go.
They got some appeal. I think just a fragging IGL is like really, really strong, and then also he has leadership qualities as well.
Yes.
Like he is just like an actual proper leader. So yeah, I could see them having a good pick of people if they want to spend money. But
I think that's the thing. Do they want to spend money? Because I don't know. This is so weird to talk about this stuff. I always say like I know they don't spend as much as other teams, and so I was quite impressed with what they did this year. I don't know if they want to do that or not. Their Counter-Strike team likes to spend a lot of money. You can see all the roster moves they make. If they were willing to open the bank account just a tiny bit, they'd be in a very good spot. Because as you said, like they have the magnet of Nats. They just need to compete with some of the other teams in terms of like what spending power, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if we're talking Chronicle, would actually be like a really large, presumably, amount of spending power.
For sure.
I mean, they could still get other talent that didn't require them to open the wallet that much. Just to refocus on the topic title again, paTiTek. So paTiTek almost seems like one of the obvious routes that you might consider is looking at him filling the gap left by Miniboo on Team Heretics, and then moving Woot over to Duelist, and you basically just have the roster that the roster that got to the finals of Shanghai. Do you think that makes sense for both parties there?
I think maybe it depends if they're looking to move Woot to the Duelist role. Yeah, it depends on like if he wants to play the Duelist or not, which individually he's good enough, but it's one of those like, do he want to change roles, or are they looking for a new Duelist in Heretics instead? I think.
Yeah,
I heard that he's trialing both as a Duelist and Flex, and whichever they get they'll go the other way.
Right.
Is what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. So it just depends who they can. I don't think Patty going to Heretics makes the most sense personally. I think that there are players coming through now that I think that Patty's more a glue player for a slightly lower ambitious team at this point. Gotcha. I don't think going back to Heretics. I think they hit magic with Patty, and I do think that he can provide a lot of value. It's just that Heretics are going for trophies, right? And I think that I would rather just a 18-year-old Turkish superstar.
Yeah, that's the problem with the competition. Yeah. I do think he fits the role of like flex pretty well at the moment, though. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Because I think that he kind of fits the KO if you want to play double initiator. He fits a little bit of the duelist stuff. Has always played that in the past. I guess the only thing for flex is maybe the Viper. I think the Viper hasn't been great when I watched it in the past.
I actually disagree. I think his flex is in a weird spot.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't play. That's the problem that he had with Trex, is neither of them flexed off of Initiator ever. Both could only really play Initiators. And I think in the next meta, I don't think double Initiator is the play still. The KO is still decent though.
It's only the KO, but he likes the KO.
That's true. The KO is a pretty big thing.
It's like KO Raze, Viper, I guess, is where I view it.
Yeah. I think the problem for him is that he's more of a pack player and not so much of a lurker, if that makes sense. So he needs to play the KO, he needs to play the Raze. Maybe if they flexed him to like Smoker or something instead, it could be better. So it could be with the pack as well, dependent on map, of course. And then also for defense, he's more of a rotator rather than an anchor as well, because he's like the glue in a team. But
yeah,
I do think there is some like magic to paTiTek, because what you said, Minny, like Liquid, they did overperform with what they had, and like they had paTiTek, and same thing with Heretics the year before. Obviously they kept running now in 2025 without him, but like he was there to like catapult them to do that, like set them on the right track and give them the momentum to do it. So I definitely think he's gonna land somewhere that's like good. I think there's some magic to him.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's two expectations, I guess, that were lower that he overachieved.
Yeah.
So joining one of those lower teams would make a lot of sense.
I'm looking actually at the other player on Team Liquid. I'm looking at who used to be on Team Liquid, Kiko, and I'm thinking like that is actually a beautiful. I mean, first of all, everyone would love to have Kiko. There's so many teams around in the scene where Kiko would fill a gap for them. But just to focus on Heretics for a moment, Heretics are looking for a player that would be able to play smokes for the double smoke comps, because that's not something that Woot really likes doing. They're also looking for somebody to play the duelist when they play double initiator comps. Okay, that's perfect. Woot goes back over to initiator. Like, he just fits into this team so beautifully, I think, Kiko onto Heretics. It's the exact piece they're looking for.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of teams that he fits perfectly on. Won't go too deep into it, but I think there's definitely a couple of teams that I think.
What's another team that?
I don't know.
I can't even think.
Maybe it's some team that maybe lost to smoke. Yeah, probably FNATIC. That's the
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the new, I mean, Keiko was already good before, but like with the new patch coming up and like what people are expecting the meta to be, then it just fits him even better, to be honest, because of his flexibility between smokes and specifically duelists. And then, if you can play smokes, you can probably play Sentinel as well and be like a good anchor. And like it's just his firepower that is just crazy, to be honest. That just makes it so easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I go negative for 1 second?
Go on. Of course.
Was he good at global events?
Kiko?
Yeah.
Not as good.
Yeah.
Well, Liquid themselves weren't as good at global events, and I don't think that was just on Kiko. So I don't think he was the reason that Liquid were worse at global events.
But did he put up the EMEA 300 ACS Brimstone player vibe in either global?
Yeah, no. It wasn't the same numbers.
I don't remember.
Really. He was consistently at the top. Yeah, he was still consistently like at the top in his team, I think, on global events. I might be wrong, but I think he was. And I think if you want to put up the 300 ACS, it is like a team effort. They need to run behind you and do the things.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Toronto now. I mean, I'm like an actual stats fraud. I've just looked at Toronto and listed by rating. He was like top 12 in rating with 200 ACS, 0.76 KPR. So I mean, he's still kind of.
I did my best to be cynical, to put an asterisk over it. I did my best.
It's very reasonable. Very reasonable. Nat's also had the game where he kind of played like poo, so maybe he's a fraud as well.
I think
Okay,
that's
okay.
maybe.
Let's move on to talking about FNATIC. FNATIC's off-season. I love the way that Kojo interacts with the community, by the way. I think that it's so good to have, like, he's fairly transparent, but he does it in a bit of a cryptic way too. I think it gets people excited for what's going on. But FNATIC had probably their most challenging off-season this season from a GM's perspective, because they had a lot of people coming to the end of contracts. Boaster was coming to the end of a contract, crashies is coming to the end, and Chronicle's coming to the end of a contract too, along with 3 of the coaches. And now we have Boaster and crashies re-signing, Chronicle not just yet, and Scut going over to Vitality. Let's start with Boaster and crashies, I suppose, because there's so many different ways you can go once we start talking about Chron. But extending these guys got to be good for them, right?
Oh, it's huge. I think it's just huge in Valorant just to have Boaster for another year for sure, because we were already having the talks after champs where it was like up in the air if that was his last year, because it's as much as like we're talking about Ewok and getting kind of like finding it hard to just do it for so long. He's been going for so long as well, so I think it's a good thing for Valorant that he's here. Maybe we've got to go to Minny. What's Minny doing? He's plugging out his headset.
I could tell everyone knows what's happening, but none of us want to say because we're not allowed to.
I genuinely don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I'm out of the loop
here.
here.
The smirk like he knows. I know what's happening, so it's like I'm just gonna say. I thought we were talking about Ascension today. I didn't realize we were going into roster.
Yeah, come on, Minny. Tell us your thoughts.
I'm the worst person to be here.
Tell us your thoughts then.
My thoughts. It says Boaster signs with FNATIC for 1 more year. Extend crashes. What is this his last? What is this his last year? Okay. Boaster. I don't know.
Brilliant. Okay, cool.
Don't know. I'll ask him at dinner. I go to dinner after, and I'll get back to you guys.
Cool,
do you think he would he have retired after champs?
He said he wasn't going
to.
He said at champs that like he was down for 1 more year, but I think if he had won, maybe it would have been different.
No, he would have continued for a year.
You reckon? You think?
Yeah. He'll get so bored not playing. Honestly, he'll be so bored. Like his content will be amazing, and he'll have fun doing content, but he will get bored. Like I fucking love not having to do anything, honestly. But he will get bored. Crashies also extends.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, nice.
Dude, Minny really is the worst person to have on.
Yeah.
Boaster seems like one of those where like he just loves the game and the community too much to quit playing. So I agree. I think even if they won, he probably would have continued, and I would have wanted him to continue as well. And I think it's huge for FNATIC to like keep having him in the roster, because whatever iteration of any rosters he's had in FNATIC, they've always been performing and going to internationals and making deep runs, and like, you know, he's always been there, so he's the constant factor for them. So I think that's huge. And also Crash is just incredible for that team, like meshed super well. It probably helps a lot with communication for Boaster to like make it a bit easier for him with calling and mid-rounding, and also the language barrier. They're both native English speakers, so I think that's like a huge thing. And then obviously they have the future with Alpha and CheongGak still, I guess. That's a good mix.
I think what Crashies did the best for the team was like the vibes just felt completely amazing with him, and even Kayak. Like Kayak, like Dirk and Leo are quite intense people. And I think that Kayak and Crashies are a bit more lighter and softer. And I think that, I know it sounds weird to say, but I think that is a big difference between the kind of chemistry and the vibes on the team. So I think that's been a very good point. And it's helped Boaster kind of come out of his shell even more in terms of leadership. Like, you can tell he's like, there was times when I was coaching where he was almost like the boys would kind of drag him down a little bit and like tell him to shut up or like stop doing his stuff, whereas he feels completely open to being himself, I think, with these players.
Yeah, I think vibes is always a big thing as well, man. Just every day, because you're grinding like 6, sometimes 7 days a week if you haven't got too much time, man. If the vibes are good, and it looks like the vibes between these two are like really good, and they'll kind of get on it, it's just such a big thing. Just wanting to turn up every day and actually just like get up and have a full day of prac, that's awesome, especially when it's like 10+ hours. Like you really just want to have like that good chemistry and make sure that everyone gets on. So it's definitely big for FNATIC.
Yeah.
Like
I also think you can tell on Boaster's individual performance that vibes are probably better because he's still improving individually and like putting up better and better numbers all the time. So yeah, really good.
Okay, well then, listen. If you know too much, just keep it zipped. But the speculation, anyway, is that with so Kojo put out a tweet saying that 3 out of 6 of the contracts had been re-signed, and one of them had not. Now, the 3 out of 6, in terms of what Sheep Esports has reported, would be Boaster, Crashies, and Milan. He said that one had not re-signed, like not that they were still in negotiation, but had literally not re-signed. That, from the reporting, seems like it would be Scott going over to Vitality. So Chronicle is the big X factor here in terms of being a massive piece of the puzzle that remains out in the open for FNATIC. Sliggy, I'm going to ask you to start us off. If you're thinking about Cron, where do you think it would be most sick for him to end up?
I mean, I would, with how FNATIC did, and if everyone's staying, I think you could run it back because I think they had a pretty
so
good
boring,
year.
Sliggy.
But
So
dude,
boring.
That is how it is. But if someone's offering you a bag and the team has a lot of potential, then you gotta be smart about it. But dude, they did good last year. FNATIC, they got to multiple finals. It's a good team that stay consistent in a meta that changes loads. You have one of the better IGLs, if not the best IGL proven. Like you have a good thing going.
It's very true. It's very true. He's also a phenomenal talent that.
The amount of conversations I have with people, and I don't know what's out there publicly or not, because I don't refresh the reports every day. So I'm sat here, I'm on edge the entire time thinking, what am I allowed to say? What is real? That's why I got the run a show up, because I'm just following that. That's the news.
That is your North Star. I mean, there's many. Let me be the voice of the unwashed masses then. There's many different places that Cron could go to, and he'd have a huge impact. If they could afford him, Team Liquid would be sick. Maybe he'd be able to fit into a team like Vitality, though. I mean, there was a weird rumor because there was like Cron's partner posted something where her face was covered by the Vitality logo, but I think that was just her, I don't know, getting involved in the shenanigans of what's been going on in the off-season. There's also, I mean, MIBR, we'll talk about them later on, but they're constructing some absolutely absurd team by the look of it in Americas. I mean, NRG are looking for a replacement for Som. We were talking about Kiko. We're talking about these kind of players. It feels like, I was talking about this with some other people earlier on. It feels like Cron fits the role of like a kingmaker in this offseason, where whoever's able to snap him up looks significantly better than everyone else. Oh, no, maybe not everyone else, but like he is a vital piece to making your team go from a very good player to a very good team to a completely overloaded team in terms of the talent that they have.
Yeah. I mean, I think Cron should probably have like offers everywhere, to be honest, and just pick and choose whatever he wants, both America, Europe, whatever region he basically wants. Yeah, because
send him to China.
Because he has experience, he has firepower, he's also a support player. I don't know how much he mid-run calls, but with all of his experience and also being with Boaster for that long, he probably knows like a lot about the game. So like you're also like, if you get Chronicle, you're buying like half of Boaster's brain, you know, because he taught him so much. So whatever team he goes to, he can just bring so many things over, to be honest.
He has the winner mentality as well. I like him in a lot of the interviews where he just keeps in, like anytime someone mentions the past and stuff, he just like don't care about it, man. He's like, I just want to win this one and then just win the next one. He's like got such a great just winner's mentality, in my opinion, as well. So he can bring that over to teams as well. Dude, he's such a good player, man. He's such an integral piece that again everyone will want, like Bonkar said.
Minny's leaked too much. He got taken out.
Yeah, Minny's getting DDoSed, man.
I was going to join on the Cron glaze. I think Cron, the mid-round stuff, he's not so much a big voice with that. He's like the most like plug-and-play kind of player where he'll just get on with his job and he will do the dirty work. And he's the most like stoic person I've coached in terms of like, if we're playing really well and everyone's hyped, he's going to be the one who's going to like settle people down. And if it's the other way around. He's going to be the one to be like, why is everyone depressed? Can we like stop being depressed? You know what I mean? And so I think that's like really good for him that he's able to kind of maintain that. And then his work ethic and drive is insanely good. Like he's very just rationally Russian in that kind of discipline and drive. So wherever he goes, he'll make, you know, a better team if he goes. And if he stays with FNATIC, then
I can see it coming.
Big Chronicle taking down Minny.
Yeah.
He had to pause his bloody hell. Pause your anime and let's get on with the show. It's taking too much of your bandwidth, Minny. We'll move on while Minnie's away though. Let's talk about a couple of the French teams. Let's talk Karmine Corp and then Genomates. KC looking to rebuild, apparently according to Sheep Esports, with DOS9, the former Boom player, who was a Smokes player that popped off a Kazakhstani player, an out there kind of pickup, but he was very good when he played for Boom.
It was very good. I would again love to know what happens like in the transition from stage 1 to stage 2, because yeah, I don't know. We only know so much from the outside. So I guess if we're just looking at pure like firepower and how he played as a player, that's great. But I still have like a question mark as to what happened during stage 2, really. But he's a beast, man. He's definitely a beast, and he's mechanically great. And as long as whatever happened was kind of out of his control, then I have no worries, I guess.
I think Karmine Corp they make so many interesting roster moves every
true.
year. I mean, they
I'm-
brought Narrate the first year, and then this year they brought Saadhak and these things. They're not afraid of importing players, it seems, but it seems like a good move, to be honest, because again, you want someone that's like, is he pure smoker or does he like flex around a little bit?
He was pure smoker last time.
Okay.
For them, so we'll see.
Yeah.
In the past, he's been a lot of smokes, but he's played some duelists before as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a good. So it's a little bit flexible, I guess. But yeah, it's just interesting what Karmine Corp is doing all the time, like every year with their rosters, to be honest, because they're just importing and doing like building weird rosters, like with players that I didn't even think of myself, you know. So
one of the weird quirks of the rulebook is actually that he isn't an import in EMEA. For whatever reason, Kazakhstan counts as EMEA. I think it's because they're like the closest server that they can play on.
Yeah, the closest servers are the Russian servers. Is that right?
I mean, I didn't even know there were Russian servers, but yeah, I suppose they've got to be.
I think it's something like that.
Yeah, but anyway, they count as EMEA, so he doesn't even take up an import slot for them. So a bit strange. But they're also one of the players that I would have expected them maybe to try to hang on to is Marteen. According to Sheep, he's heading over to Gentle Mates, along with the other people that they're looking to pick up apparently are Bipo, who's a duelist player that I don't know anything about. And then apparently they're looking to hold on to Minny, but have him not be the IGL. Which I think it was you that was talking about that last week, Sliggy, where you were saying that you would have Minny, but not have him as the caller. But that leaves a big gap of like, they don't have an IGL currently.
Sure, yeah. I was kind of along the vibe of if they had an IGL that they could bring in, then I think it's fine. But I think you could also, I mean, player to IGL route is looking pretty popular at the moment. It seems like it eventually gets there, so they could also do that. But dude, the guy just fragged so heavy that you could just have him, like he was so good on his role anyway that he was kind of fine if you wanted to take him off the IGL duties. I don't know enough about Bipo. Maybe Minny and Bonkar maybe know a bit more than me. Marteen, I think, is a good pickup, but again, I don't really know what happened last year, whether it was like a chemistry thing, because I think that he's way better than what he has shown last year. For sure. 2024 was definitely more of a standout for him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, that's the leaker people are taking me out of my internet or something. So
yeah.
Bipo, he's like a solid tier 2 duelist. Could have been in VCT last year. He's not like, I don't think he's gonna like be Marteen 2024 levels, but he's an interesting pickup. It's interesting they're just immediately going for 2 duelists. Maybe they think that Marteen can flex a bit more, maybe if they need to.
He played some smokes on certain maps, right? Like he played the Omen in their no duelist comp on Icebox. I mean, that plays pretty aggro. You play it kind of like a duelist, but
I think Marteen's like when you think of duelists, like he's one of the duelists that can play any duelist, so it doesn't surprise me that he could flex off of duelist too. So yeah, that could be the thing. The IGL, to me, this screams that they want Enzo as the IGL, maybe. Like that would be like a natural one, but like he's in Ascension finals, so like maybe they can't do that because he might be in a different team. So yeah, I'm not sure what the IGL situation would be if it wasn't Enzo.
Yeah.
I thought that Ticey looked pretty good from the games that I've seen in Ascension in terms of his calling for Dynasty as well.
Yeah, Dynasty look decent. It's just I don't know anything about how much that is Ticey or not, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think keeping Minny in Gentlemate is like huge. I think he's actually insane. When we were in Paris and Praking, we were practicing Gentlemates a little bit when they were doing trials, and he was just, I don't know, I think he was like getting close to 40 kills in a prac against us, to be honest. He was just frying us on a certain role. But yeah, and then bipo, honestly, I don't know much. And marteen is also interesting because if Minny is going to play the duelist role, then you bring in marteen, who can also like play the duelist, but is like very flexible. So I'm not too sure. And then you have a problem with the IGLing role as well. And there isn't a lot of IGLs out there, to be honest. It's hard, especially if you're looking for a fragging IGL, which is like on the uptrend, I would say. So a lot to like the coaching staff needs to do a lot of work, to be honest.
I'd like to take a tangent. I mean, we're going to talk after this about EMEA Ascension, but I want to take a tangent just for a moment because we've got like a range of coaches here that have had different experiences with IGLs and IGLing. I mean, Minny, I feel like you've been extremely attached to someone who takes a lot of that burden upon himself. I think when I think of Boaster, I think of someone who's kind of like a born to IGL type of guy. Whereas if you looked at the opposite side of that, Sliggy worked with a team who nobody wanted to be an IGL. And then Bonkar, you've had to go like almost... Ethan did call last year. He called in 2024, but it wasn't very successful. And then you've been working with him this year to get to the point where he's been extremely successful by the end of the year. His attack side calling at Champs was better than I've ever seen his attack side calling. So when you're looking at these teams that don't have a natural IGL, is there a playbook for taking a player and turning them into one? Or like, what are you even looking for in that sense?
The irony... Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there is a playbook. There is playbooks because it depends on who you're trying to get into IGLing. Like my road with Ethan was just already mid-run calling and I had to explain to him that he was essentially already IGLing. He didn't even need to put a label on it, to be honest. It's just about building protocols and like rules with your IGL of like how do they naturally call without any coaching or anything, like their ranked calling style, yeah, and then just like building on top of that if it makes sense. So it's just natural for them all the time, and then maybe you have to force certain rules and protocols onto them. I definitely think it's possible. It's just it's hard. Yeah, I mean, you don't know how they're gonna improve in the IGLing aspect and like how much it's gonna take away from them as an individual player as well. Like that's the big thing with some IGLs. They just 100% focus on calling all the time, so their individual performance just drops like crazy. It's also the team you have around the IGL. Do you have a lot of people that is vocal who will help the IGL? Do you really need to mid-run call that much? Do you only need to like call strats pre-barrier? Because that's very easy. You can just call, okay, let's 5-man default B, or just have a set strat or whatever, and then everyone just fills in. It depends a lot on the team. And then when it comes to the coaching staff, it's just like you just need to provide like things to do all the time to like move forward with the person. Like you need to be very good at explaining and visually showing why something isn't good and why something isn't working, and then also why things are working. You know, like they might say, well, this call worked the last time. It's like, well, why didn't it work this time? You need to like somehow get through to them on a human level, and I think that's like the hard part.
Yeah, I was going to say the irony for me is that I've started thinking this year about the fact that I think there's coaches matter not as much as the IGL in those situations where you're picking up an IGL who might not be that experienced. because if the coach isn't able to do certain strategic styles, that means the IGL is going to suffer a lot, in my opinion. So like the strategic style you're probably looking at if you're picking up an inexperienced IGL is a more basic pre-round barrier type of calling, or even you're not expecting as much of the mid-rounding. I think Ethan is a case where he actually is a bit more experienced and knows how to do IGLing. So yeah, I think it's on the coach as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a coach that isn't as great at setting up a bunch of different pre-round tactics, you're probably not going to do well with somebody who
then
needs
understanding
that to get
where the
developed.
limitations of that is and how to naturally grow out of that. Like when I worked at Boaster at the start of Summon FC, the irony that he's apparently the slowest caller in the world is funny, because when we started Summon FC, it was like he just made strats, and we kind of we built him up over time to get used to doing the mid rounding. The irony now that he needs to go back and take some of that stuff that he was doing at the start probably and kind of mix it up. But yeah, you just do that. You do what me and Boaster were doing at the start, I think.
Yeah. I think just giving people set strats as well can just help so much, especially if they're like well thought through. But I think Bonkar touched on like the main thing. I think once you have like protocols in, and it's like this happens, and then this is like something that you can do, or this person needs to take space, and then they can kind of control the round a bit more, then it just becomes like a lot easier. Once you get into those situations, you know, either you need to do this or we can do this, then it becomes like a lot easier, as long as everyone just like knows the situations and how it, like what is the best thing to do on this map. It helps a lot when you have like a good sentinel, to be honest. They can actually
Who's
just like take
taking
the
space, feeding information, that kind of thing on the other side of the map away from the
Yeah, it's essentially like a lot of guiding, yeah, because you can have one round, and that one round can end in 25 different ways, dependent on what comp you play against, dependent on how the enemy reacts. So it's like you just need to understand it yourself, and again, like you need to explain it and show it in a good way, so it actually falls into them, and that they think about it in a high pressure situation of like, oh, this happens, like X happened, so now I need to do Y because of the comp, because of the map, because of strat, whatever it may be, that this ult is on board. So like you just need to, it's a never ending thing, yeah, with the pathways that you're finding to like how you can call in Valorant, because there's so many variations dependent on who you play, what comp they have, what ult is available, abilities, all of these things, yeah. So it's just protocols and grinding, and like not losing your old protocols as well, like forgetting about them, just like constant reminders of how to play the rounds.
All right, let's talk about EMEA Ascension then. So these are the tier 2 teams that are trying to get into tier 1. In EMEA, there are 2 slots, same as we talked about earlier for Pacific, but a very different format. They've just got like they've skipped the whole of the double elimination part of it, and the 2 teams that got out of the group, they're just slamming them together in a single elimination BO5 match, and whoever wins wins. So enormous amounts of pressure for the matches that are about to be coming up. And it also made the group stage games matter hugely too, because your seed coming out of it meant like for example, if Ulf had been the top seed and Pacific had been the bottom seed, only one of those Turkish teams could have qualified into tier 1. As it happens, they both went out in first from their groups, so there is a chance that we could have 2 Turkish teams going forwards. Minny, you've been working on the show. We're now in comfortable territory for you because you don't have to worry about what you're leaking all over the place.
I survived. I think I survived.
Yeah, who knows? We'll get you later. We'll trip you up down the road. In terms of, I guess I kind of want to start here. I think that Enterprise were one of the favorites actually to make it at least out of their group, but they didn't. They went out with only winning 1 map against Dynasty, and then went out 0-2 to Job Life. Job Life had to play with a couple of subs as well, and they've still been, I mean, they're not in the playoffs, but they did, I think, pretty damn well.
I think they did great with stand-ins, to be honest. I mean, they did really good. They could have even won that game yesterday, to be honest with you as well. They definitely had their chances. So in terms of like what the curveballs they were thrown to have 2 stand-ins, I think they played great. I think EP, in my opinion, EP kind of crumbled a little bit. They just, it reminded me a little bit of the velocity game from Pacific. Not necessarily like the grouping up and hitting, but every time they hit a site, they just got flanked on. And like there was no one in charge of like watching the flanks a lot of the time. And every time I watched them hit a site, they would just get wrecked by people flanking on them. So it was a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a crumble for them considering how good they looked throughout this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think
they Enterprise to me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
we
I'm
can
so
hear
sorry.
you, but you're like a couple of seconds
You go
delayed.
You're a
ahead.
ghost.
Straight out of
Oh my
Minecraft.
god,
man.
I'm so sorry. I'm limit testing how bad a setup I can run today. But you go ahead, Bonkar.
I was gonna say that I agree that it looked like Enterprise was crumbling a little bit. I don't know how much it had to do with, like was Doma practicing with them while he was a champs because they lost a fair amount of prac time before coming into Ascension because of that. It's also so weird because they have experienced players on that team, but then even when they played as Go Next previous year in Ascension, they kind of crumbled as well, and they had a lot of like similar players in that roster. So I don't know what it is when it comes to high pressure situations with that team that they just crumble. As you said, like they're getting flanked on and they're not playing like as reactive as they should be. Because I know from practice how reactive they are and taking space and being aware of everything. It's just a different team, to be honest, which is unfortunate.
How good am I right now? Am I good?
Perfect.
Okay, right. My explanation for them is that I think that they're the kind of team that would have done very well last year in Ascension, but the quality of competition has risen, and I think they're a bit stagnant. I think that so like the way I strategically would explain how they play is they play a 4-1, but they go 4 middle on like every map, and that's not a 4-1. You can't go 4 middle and then try and do like you can't finish if you've got 4 at middle. Like
It's the FNATIC sunset.
yeah, it was FNATIC sunset. Honestly, the Turkish teams are doing 4-1s, but they've got 4 on the extremity, and then they've got one of the best Sentinel players. You got Alfia on the other side, and Alfia is either getting picks or he's just like walking in and taking all the space, or their 4 is just exploding and just simplifying. Whereas it feels like part of the fact of being so experienced for them is that like there's a lot of pressure on them thinking that they should be winning. And so they go into those mid-round situations where strategically they're not set up for success because, again, they're 4 in the middle of the map and they can't really get out of that very easily. And then they're pressured because they think they should be winning the map. And then they just kind of crumble. So, like, I think there was a strategic reason, too, as to why they were struggling. Like, you can't do... They were walking 4 people into garage on Haven and then going out. It's like, you send 1 or 2 people into garage to break the turret. You don't send 4 people in. I was like... Yeah, I was very confused watching them play, honestly. I expected a little bit more from the caliber of players that they have.
Well, I want to touch on job life as well, though. I know that we'll talk about the teams that have made it as well when we talk about like predictions and that kind of stuff. But job life, they were in a weird spot, so they couldn't get visas for 2 of their players. They weren't able to get visas for Purpo and Chiwa. So unfortunate for Chiwa because dude was supposed to be playing in Tier 1 for BBL, and then he was supposed to be playing in Ascension, and he's just stuck at home, not able to do anything. So I feel for him. But Job Life managed to make it work. They had like a pretty decent roster, to be honest with you, in terms of the people that they'd managed to pick up too. They've got some talented players in there, people that we've seen at the Tier 1 level before. And unfortunately, weren't quite able to get it across the line against Dynasty, who do have some like strong candidates in their team. I've been really enjoying watching Tag and Waddle in particular. I think they've been standout players across EMEA Ascension.
Waddle's got a great fade on him. Like his fade util is very nice for sure. Saw a couple of rounds where he's just like winning it just purely because of his fade eye usage. Like he loves a fade eye that's on the floor, so when people have to peek him, they're like peeking into it so that he can get the early info. I like watching a good fade at the moment. Yeah, dude, I'm a little excited for the Ascension, but I do just watch the Turkish teams and I do feel like, I don't know, man.
They're just cracked.
Yeah, there's a little crack, dude. And it kind of, I watched a similar thing when I'm watching like Kellogg's, and it's like, I know that these guys in Tier 1 will get punished so hard, but I feel like a lot of these teams and players aren't getting punished at the moment because
that's why I like Dynasty, because I feel like of the 4 teams that actually got through to playoffs, Dynasty are the only ones that aren't playing crackhead Valorant. They're trying to play a bit more of like a punish game, a slower route on the attack side, like trying to manipulate the defenders, trying to stop your opponents from getting away with silly stuff. I'd like to see them. I don't know whether they do well. Maybe they'd be a bit more like watching Apex, where you like some of the stuff they're doing and you like some of the little supportive pieces, but it doesn't end up working at Tier 1 to a high degree. But I think I've been rooting for them because they are not just swinging everything.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think I mean, unfortunate for job life with the subs. Yeah, like super, super, super unfortunate. But like Sliggy said, I think they did good considering circumstances. To be honest, a bit unfortunate that they had ULF and then Dynasty in the lowers. I think if the brackets were like a little bit more different, they could have made like the final game maybe. You know, honeymooning a little bit, coming in, just gaining some momentum. And there's the aspect of if you don't know what you're doing, then the enemy team doesn't know what you're doing kind of vibe with two subs, and you just have nothing to lose and you're just running around and having fun. So I think they did good. And again, unlucky for Chihuahua with the BBL first and now this one. So
Job Life apparently
sucks.
also had food poisoning in that game
Yeah,
against
Stark's food poisoning, right?
Yeah, Dynasty. I keep
Jesus.
wanting to call them dysentery as well, which is
Dysentery.
yeah, because their tag when they play doesn't have the N in it. So I'm looking at it on the screen. And anyway, yeah, Starzo I think was like proper bad with food poisoning during that game that they lost 2-1. So just lots of unlucky things going on for them.
Yeah, but they were fortunate to even get in there in the first place. Yeah.
True.
So
Yeah. On the other side of things, then, let's start with mandatory before we talk about the Turkish teams. Sliggy, you were saying Kellogg's should be getting punished at a tier 1 level. He has the highest stats for the tournament at the moment. He has a 1.0 kill per round, 270 ACS, you know, getting first kills, getting kills all over the place, owning people. He at the tier 1 level, sometimes when he played, he was dropping 30.
Sure.
Sometimes he was dropping 3.
But I would say that this meta suits him a little more in terms of his crazy playstyle. First of all, he's on a Yoru instead of like what was a Jet back then. And a lot of times when I used to watch him, his like Jet dash wasn't used efficiently enough. Like they would kind of lose rounds when he's the solo duels. He uses his dash early in duels and they wouldn't have anything to exec the site. Now when they're kind of playing, it's Takas on the Waylay, right? They have like extra exec power. He can, and dude, on a Yoru, he can like use selfishly a TP and a flash, and then he has like a TP and a flash for the exec as well. So I think the Yoru, if we're just focusing on Kellogg's on his own, just really suits his style of play. I do think he won't get away with what he's doing in tier 1. A lot of the time he should just be getting killed and popped when he's like TPing out. But I do think that this role he's in right now and how they're using him just makes so much sense. Like I think he's a good Yoru. And I think when they play double duelist, it looks really good. Because Takas is pretty, I mean, he's pretty fearless. And he's a beast as well, man. Takas is a beast. And these guys are just abusing the Odin. And we got a coach that really likes that one. So it's nice to it's nice to kind of see him do the Odin span.
yeah, I personally think Kellogg's is like individually he's insane. In my opinion, it's one of those players where I would personally love to like coach a guy like him to see like how far could he go if he learned how to kind of hold himself back a little bit when it comes to like some decision making and when to do what and why to do certain things. Yeah, but in this team he has Enzo and Hip, which are like both IGLs. Obviously they only have one IGL in the team, but they've both been IGLs at least. So I assume that they're setting him up very well and like teaching him things and like telling him stuff like what to do and stuff. But I still think he's playing into like his strengths. Like he's so good mechanically, in my opinion. I think he's insane, to be honest. I think it would be fun seeing him in franchised again with like a good IGL and a good coaching staff to like see what he can actually do.
Can I? I want to talk about what's on the. Oh wait, sorry. Your internet is going mad, but oh well, he's gone now as well. That's tragic.
Look at this guy, man.
Oh, I thought I interrupted him, but I think his internet just died. I wanted to talk about the game on screen here because this one was wild. Okay, Twisted Minds were 28-3 this year on Lotus, which for starters, who the hell is playing 31 games of Lotus in a year? That's mad, isn't it? But 28-3, so 90% win rate on Lotus. They came in here, they looked lost. They looked absolutely like they had no clue what they were doing against this comp. But it was one that Mandatory have run before as well, so you'd think they would have prepped against it.
when and Minnie was talking about this a little bit. They like to BC default a lot and then retake over towards A, but like re-clear over towards A. But I think once the Odin's out, they found it really hard to re-clear over towards A. So then they wanted to start going out towards A at the beginning, and they had 2 back-to-back rounds where they got shut down. But just like small micro plays of just like kind of one person sending it, but they had good setup, so they lost like 2 people early over towards A. And then it looked like they didn't want to go out aggro A, and they didn't want to BC default because they knew they couldn't push off A, and then they would just, let's just run into B, I guess, towards the end. They just looked like nothing was working, and they got so heavy shut down on their A default that, I don't know, I think their original plan got so wrecked here. I think they struggled against the Odin, straight up. It's hard to play against.
There's also an aspect of it's the 3rd time they play Lotus against each other, and the first 2 times Twisted Minds beat mandatory. So, you know, they have 2 IGLs in mandatory that maybe likes to prep, like to make adaptations, and now the 3rd time they win against them. So could be something to that as well, to be honest.
They were.
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
You're going? Okay. Their adaptation, they said their anti-strat was that they're going to take Rebel Control hard. And then privately, Enzo told me, but I'm very confident he'd be fine with me saying, was that like they had then plans if they went C. But like what should have just happened is Twisted Minds should have just gone C. I don't really understand why they didn't go C. Like they don't have to go into anything. There's no good setup that mandatory showed towards C, in my opinion. Like they tested it once, and then every other round they just lost, and then decided to A default and just got owned. Like the anti-strat I did for FNATIC for a year or notice was if they didn't have a Viper on their team, you just go C. It was basically the anti-strat, and like it seems like teams just still don't do that.
What I don't understand though as well is mandatory have played the same comp 3 times against them. They've run the Odin against them as well. I want to be clear, I haven't watched those previous games, but Enzo runs the Odin all the time. Enzo was like the original Odin goblin. Before Brock was, even thinking about picking up that gun, Enzo was out there playing 90% Odin in his bloody tier 1 games, tier 2 games everywhere. So you can't be going into it thinking, you don't have a game plan for working around the... I don't think I see them like break a deadlock wall or even set up to like pop as soon as the deadlock wall is down. I didn't see them have a plan to get around the Odin. I was at a loss. I didn't understand what I was watching.
I mean, it happened to Paper X versus FNATIC at Champs, so if it can happen at Champs, then the Odin use from Boaster was like too much. So I don't want to be too mean. If Twisted Minds literally played the game they usually play against mandatory, they would have won. Well, they would have done a lot better. They wouldn't have won probably because they looked so out of it. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Exit was going nuts in the previous game. Last time they played Lotus, he dropped 31 kills. So it was a pretty big difference there, but it didn't feel like he was set up for success. And they played the solo Yoru double smokes and Cypher on Abyss. I felt so tough for him. He's just got no way of being able to go in on that map.
Oh, Waylay.
Yeah, sorry, what did I say? Solo Waylay, double smokes, and a Cypher. So he's just like sending
good
it. Good
luck.
Yeah, actual good luck. Try to win the game on your own if you like.
do your bit. Make some space.
Let's talk about the teams that made it then. Let's have a look at some bold predictions. 2 teams are going to qualify. So let's see. Who did we say?
Dude, we might all have the same, yeah.
It's very possible. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Minny looks like he's about 4 pixels wide.
Minnie's actually from Minecraft, man. It's crazy.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't. We've got different stuff going on here. So
I respect that.
All of us have got BBL Pacific winning. So hold on. What's going on out here? So all of us have got BBL Pacific winning against Dynasty. But the 3 of you have gone for Ulf, and I've sent it on mandatory. So
go on, mate. Explain yourself.
What was my thought process with this one? I think okay.
I love that you're questioning yourself. It's a good start.
I think my thought process was, fuck it. I think it's gonna be a crazy game. I think the Takas and Kellogg's have just been flying at each other. I think there's just gonna be a bit of a like run at each other kind of game. And I think in those kind of games anyone can come away with the win. So I've sent it on mandatory.
They got the stage experience as well. And they're actually going to be on the stage instead of playing in the basement. That can definitely be a big thing.
Yeah.
And dude, it's the highest pressure game ULF will play.
I just think it's going to be hard for mandatory, to be honest, because ULF is like so fast at reacting at everything and like punishing teams, to be honest. So I think if we're talking like Kellogg's might get punished, it should be in that game if ULF is playing how they normally play. But again, it's on stage and it's the actual game that matters. You know, they played the entire year for this one game, and it could be hard. But I just see it's just a firepower diff, to be honest. Like it's just
They do look
too big. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Dude, Echo looks so good on Ulf. I was really impressed with Echo and Ordaz. I think the Senti and Smokes player for Ulf are a big threat.
Yeah,
They look
Echo
really
lets them play 4-1 and they either just deathball a lot of the rounds and just send with 5 people, which honestly, when we were talking about IGLing earlier, I was just thinking like, I'm watching the best teams in this section just go 5-man and like 4-1. It's like, there might be a meta where if you've got lots of firepower, you don't need to be like IGLing like we traditionally think about it. So yeah, Echo just allows them to go. He's literally an Althea fan.
You're just a giant pixel, bro. It's incredible.
It sounds fine
great,
for us. Yeah.
Okay. The mic thinks I
we can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you great.
Just
It's just the visual that's cracking me up.
Okay. So Echo was like a big Althea fan. He like watched him when he was like 13 years old, and he's now becoming like Althea, where he just goes by himself on attack, and he would just either take that space from you or just kill you. And it just opens up all possibilities of like, oh, we don't have to just 5-man deathball. We can also do this genius tactic of 4-1, where half of our players are one side of the map and one is the other side of the map, but 50% of firepower is still on one side of the map because fucking Echo is just dueling everyone. So yeah, I'm a big fan of how they're playing in terms of just like entertainment and in terms of like knowing how stylistically they should play because they're inexperienced and have firepower. It just makes a lot of sense. If a mandatory anti-strat that properly, they could win because, you know, if a team is just deathballing for wanting, there's a lot of stuff you could be doing to kind of set up traps around that and figure out how to play against it. But do you want to go heads on with 4 or 5 Turkish 18-year-olds basically?
Yeah.
They're winning more ecos. Like we were talking earlier about the Chinese teams and the eco rounds that Sliggy was mentioning, they seem to win more ecos than anti-ecos. When I'm watching Alpha and BBL Pacific, I think the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's an eco round, they're going to win. It's like, it's crazy the amount of sheriff shots in particular that these guys are hitting all across the map. The skill is outrageous.
They do the old school, yeah. It looks like I'm watching something back from 2021, where it's just not necessarily like a set strat that you would have like from a nice team on the eco. It's just go on, scream, go pop them.
Like this round, Echo just kills 3 of them as they're going towards the smoke. I think one of them was like a prediction inside the smoke as well. It's like, it's nuts. It's nuts.
The other thing about this team and BBL is the amount of confidence both of them have. I've never heard teams as, I want to say cocky, but they're just confident. Like the way they talk about themselves is like they know they're just going to win and they just don't care. Like this team in particular, all for fun because they just flame everyone too. And they shit talk on Twitter and like they'll just openly be like, we enjoy, they were like shit talking Job Life and getting like Job Life fans DMing them and they're like laughing about it, just being like, it's so fun. Like they're just DMing me for like hate. I'm just like, you guys are mental. Like, if I was in your shoes, I'd be like having a mental breakdown. But they're just like actually smiling in the face of it. Just yeah.
Well, I think that game, the Ulf versus mandatory, is like swinging at each other because mandatory, their win con is to have Kellogg's and Takas be out fragging the Ulf guys somehow. The other game I think is very different because I think the other game is much more like Dynasty trying to shut down what Pacific are doing, rather than just opting into the slugfest battle. Do you think there is, obviously we've all gone for Pacific here. I think they're the odds-on favorites as like the best team overall too. But when I was watching them, I wasn't thinking that they were sweeping people away. Like I've sometimes previously watched BBL Pacific back when they had like come back on the team and stuff. And I can't remember who else they had. Like, they had a different roster. I don't think Creven was on the team previously too, but I can't remember who was. I feel like they're not undefeatable. They don't have utterly overwhelming levels of firepower. I don't think that, like, Lover's Rock doesn't seem to have activated to the completely takeover game level that some people might have expected him to. I think this game is still has
winnable.
options for Dynasty.
Yeah, it's definitely winnable for sure. It's just that I just think the BBL Pacific should just outfrag them firepower wise as well, because I was starting to see it with a bit of job life. So when I put BBL in their spot, I think they'll just be fine. But dude, it's super winnable. Like it's Valorant, man.
I mean, I think if there's any team who can beat BBL Pacific, it's Dynasty, to be honest. I think they got a bit unfortunate there, BBL Pacific, with like playing specifically Dynasty, because they do play good Valorant, honestly. I think they play like the best, quote unquote Valorant in Ascension EMEA right now. It's just BBL Pacific, they are just 5 animals running around and just killing everyone. Like, it's actually crazy how good they are, and especially Lovers Rock, yeah.
Yeah, the confidence from this team too is like, they said that we asked them if they played Job Life, what would happen. They're like, they laughed at us and said Job Life aren't going to win that game, and if they do, we'll eat them alive. And then with Dynasty, I said it's going to be it'll be a much closer game if they play against Dynasty. And then Lovers Rock turned around and said, I don't know what Minny's talking about. And I was just like, oh, okay. So they're just extremely confident, and that is the only thing that like makes me like worried in some respects, because I don't know, they've made me rethink my entire coaching philosophy watching them, because they're just like the most confident group of people I've ever seen. And so in some respects, I want to see if they do start getting challenged a little bit, like how does that confidence start to play out if like, they start going 6-0 down or something. Are they going to start worrying or something?
That stuff can snowball for sure. That's like in my opinion kind of what happened to against FNATIC when Doma was standing in with Paper X, where it's just like you get all that confidence kind of goes away, and then you're like, oh god, are we actually going to lose this? And then it's like that first time that sets in, that can snowball.
But it's like setting up that expectation for yourself where you're like, we know we're the best. Like I was avoiding that like the plague when I was like coaching like Alfie. I was like, bro, if you say anything like this, I'm on your ass, you know what I mean? Whereas all 5 of them are just like giving it, and I'm just like, oh, please stop speaking, because like I'm just so worried that it's gonna like backfire.
That's sick that they like that though. I like that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it could backfire, and also if there's any game it specifically could backfire, it's this one where they're sitting on stage as well. Yeah, because it's one of those, again, like Dynasty, they do actually play proper Valorant. So like if they have really good protocols and they have a good read of like how BBL Pacific does, like I haven't reviewed BBL Pacific, so like maybe their individual players have like specific tendencies that they fall back to all the time. They push when specific things happens on the map. If they have good reads on that and they start like shutting them down, like killing them from behind, you're sitting in a corner and waiting because they know that they're coming around the corner, then maybe BBL Pacific starts overthinking of like, why isn't it working? Like, do I need to swing harder, or like what's happening right now?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of win con for Dynasty, is that they just have like a sick read on what's going on, and like you said, shoot them in the back. Sit in a corner, shoot them in the side of the head. Don't give them a chance to even shoot you. All right, that does it for EMEA then. Minny, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, for not being able to say anything during the roster change shenanigans, for giving us 5 whole pixels.
I go into dinner with Boaster. What am I asking him? I'll come back with research.
What are we asking Boaster?
Would he have quit if he
would he have
won
retired
champs?
if he had won?
Yeah, would he have?
But
would
he'll
quit if
say
he
no,
won?
right?
He'll
You would just say no just because you're playing this year. Well, I don't know. Ask him anyway. Fuck it.
Yeah, but I'll give him some sake or something.
A little, a lot.
He doesn't need very much.
Okay.
I love how this is the most your camera's actually just been like perfect. Before we were just getting like 1 pixel of you now. Dude,
I'm always at this hotel.
Where are you? You're in a hotel.
I'm in a hotel. It looks
yourself.
If I turned it any way, I dox myself, which is annoying. But my room's been downgraded for Ascension, I think, so I've not been able to get a nicer setup.
Your lighting's been so poor that your headset and your hair just blend into the TV. And
I'm
you've basically
also
just been
orange.
a face.
Yeah,
orange.
there was one point where you had just one red pixel. For your hairs, and I said to my
thinking
chat,
the lighting over here is slightly better.
"Oh, this is nice."
I've
yeah,
just
good
shot
to know."
coke everywhere. Oh my god.
Thank you, Minnie. You can leave. You can leave.
I'm
Go and,
Leaving.
Enjoy,
My
mate.
Roblox Minny.
go,
See ya.
and, go and enjoy that. Oh god, absolute chaos. Welcome back, TMV. Thanks for being here to save us from Minnie.
No
Town.
problem. I think it was really nice whoever kidnapped Minnie to allow him to come on Plat for an hour.
It did look like he was just being kept in a dungeon, didn't he? That's the EMEA budget happening right there.
Don't you guys want to take a quick break? Don't you guys need a break or anything, or do you want to keep going?
I'm actually okay, unless someone else does.
I'm okay. I just need to close the window.
All right,
All
cool.
right, well, we'll close the window and then we're ready to vibe.
Lovely.
Let's get into Americas then. While we have a little break, though, I just want to remind people, if you weren't here at the very beginning of the show, that we're going to be doing a live show for Red Bull Homegrounds. Myself, Bren, Mimi, Wyatt, Bala, Avast, Kurt, pro players, special guests. You can buy tickets at platchat.com. 250 tickets. We've already sold a bunch of them as well, so head over there if you've got the chance. And something I forgot to mention earlier on is that not only are we doing a live show on November 12th, but we will then be co-streaming. The Platchat co-stream will be coming back to do the rest of Red Bull Homegrounds while the event is live. So big teams, G2, Sentinels, FNATIC, Zeta, etc., will be covered by a couch-style Platchat co-stream too. So with some old school people sticking around too. So
Nice.
yeah, it should be fun.
Hype.
Let's get into Americas, shall we? So we didn't talk our member question at the beginning of the episode, and one of the reasons was that we wanted to give it to Bonkar. So every week, our members can submit a question, and normally they don't have anybody interesting to ask. And now they've got somebody that's actually interesting to ask questions to. So our members asked, how many chicken nuggets did you get for winning champions? And can we in EMEA count this as a champs win for us because we're desperate?
I got a couple of chicken nuggets. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, a whole bucket to be honest, which is which is good. EMEA win. A little bit, I guess. I mean, honestly, the win was a lot for my Swedish boys as well. I'm not gonna lie. All the guild players and stuff. So I guess you can count that as EMEA also.
I don't know if you asked this during the EMEA part, but what was going through your head during Abyss and Ascent?
Oh, yeah, we didn't ask that.
What is actually going on in your head? Are you thinking, oh, fuck, it's over?
I mean, Abyss, I had a little bit of a meltdown, I'm not gonna lie, because we had 2 timeouts still, and I used them both on attack. And it was just like, after the timeout, it was just like, yeah, Bonk said we should do this. And it's like, no, let's just do this instead. It's like, what the fuck, guys? Like, what's happening? Like, no. We had these issues previously with not listening. It didn't work. And like, let's not fall back into that, But then, I mean, after Abyss, it's just full reset, Like, we went outside, stood in the sun a little bit, smack everyone's balls, and, just go again.
Some told the funniest story on stream that I've heard from inside a team in a long time, where he said it was 11-1 up. They get back out of the halftime. Presumably, you've stopped talking to them, and so it's just the players. And he said to the players, he's like, all right, guys, I want us to play as if it's 0-0. Like, we're up 11-1, but I want us to say, like, it's 0-0. Let's go. And Mada goes, I love you guys. And Som's like, that is the exact opposite of the mentality that I need you to have. I need you to stop thinking that it's over. I need you to lock the fuck in like it's 0-0. It's just, it's so sweet and wholesome because you won. It would have been, oh God, it would have been bad if you'd lost on Sunset.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were very confident coming into Sunset, to be honest. Even if it wasn't like a priority map for us, we, took a look at them and we knew like we're better on Sunset than FNATIC, because the Sunset games we played before wasn't against bad teams. Like
Yeah.
Not counting 100 Thieves, like forget about that game. Like Sentinels and G2 on Sunset, they're good Sunset teams, and we lost like 13-10, 13-11, or maybe both were 13-10, I think. So like we were good on Sunset. We're just like a mental block of like losing that map three times in a row. But I was very confident. Like Sunset was even when we had the best of 3 against FNATIC, I was like even considering like, is this when we throw the curveball? Because like I wanna play Sunset into them. Like I know how good we're at Sunset, and we didn't even practice Sunset at Americas, and I still wanted to play the map against FNATIC. You know, so it was a lot of confidence coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd managed to get to a point where you hadn't played Bind or Sunset the entire tournament as well. It was like particularly
I can't believe
strange.
I can't believe people didn't pick Bind against you, man. I can't get over it. I was saying on stream, I was just like, they're not going to go this whole tournament without playing Bind, are they?
We were like disappointed over that because we prepped Bind so hard because we thought everyone was gonna pick Bind into us. So Bind was like, our strat book was insane, and we felt super confident on Bind. We were just waiting for our team to pick it, and then it never happened. And we were fortunate enough also with the teams we played, they all had really solid sunsets. So we just kept banning Sunset because it made sense. And then as soon as Sunset ban didn't make sense, we didn't ban Sunset anymore. So it was just, yeah, interesting.
Well, let's start with talking about NRG then, because it's official at this point that Som is taking a break from competing. I think, and that's the way he's phrased it, right? It's not that he's retiring, but he's taking some kind of break. I mean, anyone who retires, I tend to think of it as just a break anyway, because they can come back whenever they want.
Especially when they're as young as this guy.
Yeah.
You forget because he's been playing for such a long time. He's a young guy, man. Like he could take 2 years, come back, and it'd still be fine. So,
yeah.
Because he's been playing CS since he was like 15, 14 in like teams.
Yeah.
So,
he's a grinder, yeah. And
yeah,
I was surprised, to be honest. I was like the only one who said like when we're talking about it like in the team or like individual, like nah, he's not going anywhere. Like he loves competing way too much to take a break or retire. He did it anyways, but I'm very confident he's gonna come back in the future unless he changes paths completely, because he's a grinder, and like I can see, like I see him when he's grinding and in team environments, like he just loves it, you know, like he loves the hard work and like loves those stuff. Even if he doesn't admit to it, like he really enjoys
you
it.
even see it on stream though. Like there was a video of FNS talking about like how he, you know, took a step back, and it's like he's not going and playing ranked for 10 hours on stream.
Yeah.
He's not doing that. He's taking a break. Whereas Som is just like, yeah, I'll just fucking play hour after hour streaming it. Like that man's just insane.
Yeah. His mentality is different, to be honest. It's a nice guy.
I told my stream chat as well, but I'll tell the people watching at home as well. If you want to make sure that your favorite player doesn't retire, you need to make sure you never watch them on stream, never give them a sub, never give them any ability to make money for themselves by their personal brand. You got to, if you want Som back on NRG, don't be giving him that tier 3 sub. You can't just rely on the competitive drive. You got to apply those economic levers of pressure.
Jesus, man.
If you want Sliggy to go back to coaching, don't join the Slug Club.
Dude, that's what I've been saying to them. I think I priced myself out, man. I got 0 offers this year. I'm officially washed, dude. I priced myself out. I got no options anymore.
Yeah. And then Ethan's re-signed for 2 years. Now, I can't remember if that was official or whether that's a Sheep Esports article, to be honest. But the report / announcement, I'm not sure which, was that he's going to be sticking with the team. Well, yeah, but I don't want to listen. Okay,
Bonkar.
I can directly ask Bonkar, but I don't know whether Bonkar knows whether or not it's public either. You know, I don't want to put
pressure on him.
I don't know
Like
anything.
Minny.
I'm on vacation
I
again.
don't know.
I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation. Turned off
Yeah.
WhatsApp, not logging into Discord, and I'm good, you know.
Yeah. So it looks like though that NRG is going to have a very similar roster heading forwards into the future. But the report was, I mean, obviously, that you guys are looking for a replacement for Som rather than playing 4v5, which I think is probably a good idea.
Hey, I can step in. Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. Bring it back.
I was watching your Breach on Icebox way back when. I think that was you, wasn't it? Playing Breach on Icebox?
1988?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, It's kind of. Oh, I'm going to ask TMV and Sliggy this question instead, rather than Bonkar, because I don't think it's
Thank
fair
you.
to ask it directly to Bonkar. Who are you looking at as big replacements for Som? Like, in terms of the people that are forefront of mind, that are either free agents or moving around, like, what would you see as a good move here for NRG?
Kiko, man. I'm giving him the bag.
I mean, that
Giant
would
bag.
be the
Yeah.
insane pickup, I think, because it would give them more flexibility in terms of like double duelist stuff as well. You know, of having like someone who's very clearly. I don't know if we're selling this to you, Bonkar, but Kiko, if you end up on your team, you know, you got nice double duelist there, good smokes player. But obviously he's insane. Yeah, that would be.
It just makes the most sense.
Yeah, a crazy good signing, because obviously we've seen like on Liquid as well. I mean, he's just an incredible player.
Yeah.
The report was that Kiko was trialing for a bunch of teams in North America on duelist as well, which I found to be a little bit surprising because he hasn't demonstrated a huge flexibility in terms of the duelist roles that he can play. I don't know whether that's just because he wasn't given the opportunity though, right? Like, he was just cracked this year on basically anything he touched. So I could believe it wasn't just the Raze Jet, Omen, Brim or whatever. I could believe that, you know, if you gave him a Waylay or you gave him a Yoru, he could potentially pound on it too.
It's just, yeah, mechanically he's just great, man. So it's just like, even if you've only seen him really on the Raze, you can put him on a Waylay. He'll be fine. He'll pick it up fast.
I wanna throw you a little a curveball take. What do you think somebody like? Okay, we didn't discuss this too much earlier, but what about Chronicle? Would Chronicle fit in NRG? Do you see that as a potential move?
No team would be making a mistake by adding Chronicle. Would be my hot take.
I can agree
As
with
someone who kind of can play almost everything, it seems, and is insanely good. I don't think you'll figure it out. I think with Chronicle, I think any team could add Chronicle, and it would probably like, yeah, that's a good move.
Yeah. In terms of just smokers in Americas, though, if you don't want to do import, I guess with the recent news, you would look at Bang, and then I don't know enough about tier 2 in terms of Americas, so there might be someone there, but
maybe even a little Cortesia smokes roll somewhere.
Yeah, for
Possible.
vibes as well. Strong vibes guy.
Yeah.
Could be along that.
He was originally
along
a
the
smokes player.
line.
Yeah. I mean, the other option, I suppose, would be previously to this, people were speculating that Zekken was looking to go towards NRG. Now it doesn't look like that is an option on the table because they got MIBR are constructing the fucking 5 limbs of Exodia out there in Americas by the look of things. It's crazy, the shit coming out of the MIBR camp. We'll talk about that in a bit. But, I mean, that would have been really cool as well, because he's a bit like, I mean, he's even more than a Kiko, I think, where you could see him play the smokes, but I think you could also run him on, like, almost, like, literally anything. I think Zekken could be a tier 1 player on any role.
Yeah, it's the same kind of vibes as the Kron question, where it's just like the guy's so mechanically good and proven that it's just like you'll make it work if it's an option. Just get him in.
Okay, so Bonkar, who are you going to pick up then?
I mean, honestly, every single player you mentioned is just a straight upgrade from Sam, so I'm in. You know?
Let's talk MIBR. So MIBR are one of the most nuts stories, I think, of this offseason, because I didn't see it coming at all. I thought that they would be trying to basically run it back with a pretty similar team. Like they were the 3rd best team for the majority of the year in Americas. Then at the end, or like, you know, stage 2, they fall off a cliff entirely in Toronto, but then build themselves back up to have a great run at champs again. They go 4th at champs, was it? I think.
Yeah.
Fantastic run. Then they immediately make Ardezine's contract was coming to an end, but they decline to extend or like they allow Shenom and Cortesia to go and explore options. It was like, oh shit, they're actually making some moves here. And now, Aspas, we were talking about talent magnets earlier on. Aspas is definitely one of those players where people want to play with him. But it looks like Aspas, Verno, Zekken, and I was just looking a couple hours ago at Nando Show, who does reporting within Brazil. And he was saying that MIBR were looking to negotiate for G2 players as well. But the G2 players, like,
Holy
they...
Exodia.
Yeah, but they were, like, too tough in negotiations, so they kind of backed off and decided that it wasn't the juice wasn't worth the squeeze there, potentially. But...
Imagine.
Dude, MIBR, what in the... Where have they pulled the bag of money from?
No, that's what I was thinking as well. And as soon as they announced they're getting rid of Cortezia, I was like, dude, are they just going to go for a super play then? Because if you're... Like, Cortezia's a good pickup, man. He was a beast in terms of how he played and vibes-wise and what he brought to the team and the morale that they kind of needed. And as soon as they dropped him, I was like, what the fuck is going on over here? And then now it's getting crazy, bro. Do you wait?
Yeah, we don't know though. But like, just the idea of Zekken going to MIBR, I mean, already like that is crazy. And now the interesting thing will be at this point we don't fully know. Obviously, he'll probably play some duelist. Like you were saying, Josh, you know, he could in reality play pretty much anything and find success. And he's played Initiator before. You know, he's played a bit of Smokes.
Well, I think the idea is that Zekken is going to be their controller player, I think. I mean, maybe not. Maybe he's going to be playing like double duelist and flex controller or something like that. But
yeah,
the reporting is that he's going to be playing Smokes, which is I have faith. But
now the interesting thing though is you've got Aspas and Zekken, who I know Zekken has played Yoru. You know, he did like earlier on in the season, but and I don't know whether this was him or whether it was, you know, Kaplan or whoever, Sen as a team, whatever. You know, he didn't play a ton of Yoru during stage 2 and kind of towards champs. Aspas, you know, doesn't play Yoru, or at least hasn't. So that is going to be interesting to see, at least currently. You know, does Zekken, like, you know, just say, yeah, I can play Yoru.
But dude, I think that's fine with him.
So?
The only backlash that he was getting on Yoru was kind of unwarranted, because a lot of times he was the solo Yoru. And everyone's like, oh, he's not as good as this Yoru who's playing double duelist Yoru and doesn't have to fearlessly send it in. Like, the comparison isn't fair. He's a good Yoru.
He was sick. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that Kaplan made this year, was not continuing to run more Yoru stuff later on in the season. I think that they went completely away from that as Yoru got better and better and better and more meta. And it made, I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, do we know that was, like, what if that was Zekken, like, I don't want to play
He forgot how to play?
No, he didn't want to play Yoru.
Doesn't strike me as that guy.
No, he doesn't, but...
I'd be really surprised.
Well, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just saying, we don't know. Maybe Bonkar knows. Bonkar, tell us the truth.
Leak it all.
I mean, I think I agree with Sliggy that, you know, Zekken is a good Yoru in these things, and they didn't set him up properly, to be honest. And with the new patch coming in, you can flex the comps like in so many different directions. There's many more agents available, like when you have like the Chambers, the Sage, etc. If you want to run a solo duelist Yoru and have Zekken on the Yoru and put Aspas on something else, there is things for him to play out there that isn't in the duelist role, so to say, because of the patch. But then also you can just run double duelist as well, I think, and just go crazy, you know. Crazy. And it's also the thing with Zekken is that he doesn't require everyone to like play around him for him to like play good. So I think, you know, it makes sense. It's a good move, if true.
Yeah, by the way, I think to read between the lines here as well, Aspas's contract was coming up at the end of this year. MIBR have gone from a roster that, like, most people didn't care about, even if they're Brazilian. They don't care about MIBR because Loud were always much better. MIBR were like actual bottom feeders for 2 years in a row. But they got Aspas, luckily, remember, because he was supposed to be going over to Bleed, and then that fell through, and thank God it did.
Blew up.
Yeah, but he ends up coming back to MIBR almost as like a last chance or last choice kind of thing, just like a safety net of an area to go to. Completely changes their team, by the way. Like, they had a completely different squad before Aspas joined at the beginning of this year, and so retooled a lot of it and added in new players. My speculation, reading between the lines here, is that Aspas basically said to them, and this is supported by the reporting of the fact that he was gonna stay with MIBR depending on what the roster looked like for the upcoming year, that he basically said to them, like, I'm only staying if you build an insane team. And so they're looking, on one hand, it's like, shall we go back to being the poverty org? Or on the other hand, they're like, well, we'll have to spend a shit ton of money, but it'll probably be nuts. They're like, well, we might as well spend the money, get the checks out, start writing, boys.
Now's the year to do it as well. 2026, all the orgs get reviewed again, like
Yeah.
now's the time to spend the money.
Please
The
forget 2023 and 2024. Please forget 2023 and 2024.
Dude, it's so long ago. I mean, they might for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good play. I thought more orgs would kind of go for that this year. To be honest, we saw the French teams maybe do it last year, just purely because the champs was in Paris. But MIBR definitely seems like the outright, dude. Let's secure our contracts for next year. Yeah, especially if they're spending this much money, why do you not want them?
Well, speaking of like Champs Paris incentivizing the French teams, though, Champs is in Shanghai at the end of this year, and apparently, again, the reporting was that Aspas had been offered, or Aspas had been in talks with half the teams in China who had given him an offer to join the team, including one report which I don't know whether to believe or not, but which was that it was for like from Gen.G for 1.2 mil for the
give
year.
him $1 quintillion.
Jesus.
1.2 mil a year. Oh,
Yeah. That's a sizable
good.
offer.
That's really good.
I don't even get
That's
that
a
many
big
chicken
offer.
nuggets.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, man, that beats the chicken nuggets.
I think that's what Chet was on though before you joined.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's got to be one of the craziest off seasons that we've had in terms of like people throwing money around.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but
it
it's
makes
gonna
sense.
be,
Like,
we said.
yeah, it makes sense. Like Sliggy said, it's like you commit hard this year and you hopefully make a good champs run, and then you get a new contract for next year in franchise. Yeah, like you show Riot that we're here to commit, we're here to spend all of these things because salaries has been going down in general. So yeah, it makes sense that teams are starting to spend, and especially on a player like Aspas. Yeah, like he's just been around shopping, I guess, to get better contracts everywhere, and it makes sense. He's in that position.
Just wait till halfway through 2026. MIBR signed their future contract with Riot. Aspas dropped. Zekken dropped. You know, everyone's
back
gone.
to the bottom feeder.
Back to, you know, just recycled old Brazilian talent. Relax for 2 years.
I mean, they could. That will be a natural cycle with some orgs, right? Is that they'll have like big money years and you know, farming years, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what happens if like, dude, Zekken signs his contract. He's like, I'm so excited to be here. I've really wanted to play with Aspas for a long time. And Aspas is like, it's lovely to have you in. Now, unfortunately, I just got given 2 mil by I just got given 2 mil by all gamers, so I'm out. And he just leaves and bounces to China. Like if I'm anyone joining MIBR, I've got a clause in my contract that says I get released immediately when Aspas does, if it's before the season's beginning.
Yeah.
The super team that we saw most recently was Vitality. They were the team that tried to construct a big money team, and it failed spectacularly. What do you think the keys are for MIBR if they are going in this direction to ensure that you actually get one that functions and isn't just like good on paper, doesn't work in reality?
As long as Verno has support, in my opinion, for like the calling, then it should be okay. That's basically where I'm at.
I think the type of personality you bring in as well, in terms of like, you know, you can have superstar players who are, you know, like I feel like Zekken, and look, I don't know the guy, but he seems to give off, you know, pretty good vibes. Doesn't, like, obviously he wants to win, like he cares about winning a lot, but he's not gonna be like, he's gonna try and come up with solutions if they have problems, rather than be like, this isn't fucking working, why the fuck am I here? You know? I feel like the type of personality that you bring in, and that's the thing, you don't need like, you don't want 5 big personalities because they'll just clash too much, right? You want to have a nice mix, and I feel like the type of person that Zekken is, you know, Aspas apparently, you know, he doesn't come across outwardly maybe as, you know, a big controller, but apparently he's, you know, pulling the strings all behind the scenes of picking this MIBR roster. And I do think they've got an experienced coach as well, right? Fraud, I assume, is staying. If that's the case, you know, he's worked with Aspas for quite a while at this point. He's very experienced. You know, with the Vitality, it felt more like, you know, we got an IGL who isn't a proven IGL. We got a coach coming in from tier 2 who hasn't even coached in our region. You know, we got different players coming in from different regions as well. You know, there's a lot of things mixing together there that, you know, wasn't very stable. Whereas I feel like this, if you've got the coach, you got your IGL who was already there, you've got, you know, your superstar player who's choosing the roster was already there. It's kind of, it's a more stable beginning to then add on to, rather than just, you know, kind of bringing everything together. So I honestly think this is a good start.
Yeah. I also think, I mean, what they need is players that is, if you're building a super team, you need players that is in quotation mark superstars, but doesn't require the entire team to play around you. Because
Sure.
what could happen is that you have these, again, in quotation mark superstars, but they don't perform now because the entire team doesn't play around you because they've chosen a different superstar in the team. So it's like, it's building blocks, yeah. And then I think the most important thing is like vibes, and certain players needs to be okay with they're not going to be the top fragger, they're not going to be the superstar anymore, and they need to be fine doing a different job.
Yeah. Well, I think even though there would be a lot of names on this team, to use your kind of framework, I think Aspas would still be the guy the team is built around. I don't really see Aspas being one of those other players where he's like the supportive element to somebody else, or the glue guy that fixes something else. Like when you have Aspas on a team, you have to play around Aspas, I think, and then he will get you to a podium finish in Champions as long as you do that. So I think that players like Zekken, players like Chronicle, like these are like insane additions to a team like this. It would just be outrageously good if they added building blocks like that, of like the do the dirty work, do whatever you like, have the attitude of being like they don't have to be the star, don't have to have the entire team built around them. But I think you could get away with it on Senti a bit. Like I think you could still have a big Senti player that can like work on their own. Because like what I liked about this year's MIBR is that Cortesi would sometimes have his big rounds after Aspas had been denied some space elsewhere on the map. He would still be able to, Cortesi would still be able to take over the game by going in the other direction.
Sure. I think the main thing when I look at when you have a team that involves Aspas is just having someone who can be fearless, and that's what Artsin was. And dude, I've seen Zekken do that multiple times in Sentinels, so I think he's definitely a player that is willing to do that. So I think hand in hand that those two make sense just from their playstyles. Yeah.
It puts Sentinels in a weird spot. Let's talk about Sen for a moment. So they have released Bang. That's official. Obviously, the like Zekken to MIBR is not official, but it's been pretty well documented and reported at this point, so that seems really likely too. JeongQT is also a question mark because his contract ended this year. So they're down 2, possibly 3 players by the look of things. And the pieces that they have left are not like... I mean, I would say the identity of Sentinels was more around John's calling and Zekken's entrying. And I don't know what... I don't really see an identity for Sentinels now. It feels like a bit of a rebuild year if Zekken does go to MIBR, even if they keep John.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is that. For sure. It looks... Well, it's starting to look like not a full hard reset, but at least like a reset. But I think with the meta going the way that it is as well, I think that might benefit them a little bit as well, kind of reevaluate like their style and how they kind of see how they want to play this year. But I do think it might. I'm not saying it's going to help them losing Zekken, because Zekken's like a beast.
It's actually a good thing, Sliggy says.
Yeah, but I think like it will help make it easier to reevaluate your like style or how you want to approach the upcoming meta. Because dude, Bonkar said it earlier, there's a lot of options on this one at the moment. Like a lot of options. Double duelist, double controller, the Sage chamber options are super there as well if you kind of want to have that player that can be a little selfish or frag out. I think it's gonna be interesting what style and Saicho, you said this, or you said like this week, right? Whether you didn't like their approach to the meta this year.
Yeah. I thought they missed on a lot of things this year, actually, from a style coaching perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that they have the academy team to pick players from as well. So they're fortunate with that. And I mean, the big one to me is Redux there, yeah, because if you're gonna replace Zekken for whatever reason, then he is like big tier 2 up and comer. Like he's so good individually, mechanically, all of these things. But the big thing with him is that he's just a team player. Like you tell him to jump, he will ask you how high do you need me to jump every single time. It doesn't matter in what situation. So they have Redux to build, so I think they're gonna be fine, to be honest.
So the idea going forward.
They're fine because they still have like the core of the team, if that makes sense, and then coaching staff as well. So it's easier like implementing players and these things. But you know, it's like a soft reset. But if they reset it even harder with the roster, I wouldn't mind it either. Like you said, with the meta coming up and like the big changes, you know, who knows what's gonna happen to the game at this point? Yeah, so I think they're fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they had an interesting they were in an interesting spot, right? Because obviously, I think most of us would have agreed like keep Zekken, but you know, they had made every international, so in that sense, it was a success. But they had a pretty, you know, about as bad as it could go champs. So you've ended on this big low. There's like question marks around everything. Like you could have seen Sen go in a lot of different directions in general, right? Like it was like, who do they keep? Who do they get rid of? You know, if you ask 10 people, they give you 10 different answers in terms of the direction they should probably go in. So this like long term, you know, maybe, you know, kind of being forced, like, oh, these people have already gone or whatever. Like, yeah, maybe it will end up working out okay, but it's definitely going to be an interesting year because obviously it's Sentinels, so there's still going to be expectation no matter who's on their roster. The fans are going to still be like, we need to win, but that the expectations will probably have to come down, I assume, unless they, you know, start signing
which also
insane players.
Which also means that they're like, this year in hindsight ends up being a bit more disappointing. Because if this year, like the consistency of making every international event, always making the upper finals regionally, that kind of thing, it falls apart a little bit if you're not able to then the year after build upon it to better things. That is like, you know, that was the peak that this roster was able to achieve, and you weren't able to go any further with it, which I think will be disappointing for some people. But yeah, interesting ass shit happening in Americas. 100 Thieves. Let's go on to talk about them, because there was some talk and some speculation early on that Zekken may end up getting reunited with Cryo in one way or another. Like whether that was on 100 Thieves or whether that was on Sentinels, doesn't seem likely now. 100 Thieves said goodbye to Boostio, Kess, and Zikz, the coach, and they've also allowed Cryo to look at his options too. Now, Cryo's contract ended in 2026, so he was still under contract. He didn't like reach the end of his contract this year. So he's available if people wanted to pick him up.
Bonkar?
Upgrade again. I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smokes player, isn't he? I mean, essentially at this point, it's just that he hasn't played. I don't know how to describe Cryo's role, to be honest. I think he's got a very strange overlap of agents. He doesn't play Omen, but he does play the like more static anchoring kind of smoke agents. And then he also plays a lot of the like senti contact agents that are like, you know, you post up on an angle and get a kill rather than hard anchor around your util. And then he's played a little bit of duelist, but not enough to be probably a full duelist player again. He's an unusual player, but he's still very, very skilled and did have stages where he took over.
Every time I watch him, I'm just like, this guy's like, I would love to have this guy on my team kind of vibe. So I mean, he'll get offers. It's just if 100 Thieves can either keep him and match the offer, or if they're willing to let him go and find someone else. But I think Cryo will get a lot of offers, man. I think he's just so skilled. And again, if the meta stays how it is at the moment, I think you can pretty much primarily have someone that wants to be opping all the time, especially with like Outlaw and stuff now as well.
I agree. I mean, he's just so good individually. The only thing is his agent pool. Like he's a little bit flexible, but it's like weird flex. But if there's any time to make it work, it's like with this new patch coming up. To be honest, you could make it work, but I mean, I don't see 100 Thieves letting him go, to be honest, if they have him in contract, unless they're getting like a huge buyout for him or something like that. But I don't see it, because now they can build around him as well if they want to, with all of the options that are out there right now.
Yeah, I think it indicates to me that 100 Thieves are still trying to keep a very open mind with what's going on. And that would align with the report that CheongGak is coming back to take over what I assume is like the GM role. I think they called it like head of Valorant operations or something. Yeah. But I assume he's basically like in charge of building them a team that makes sense for next year with the, with the whatever budget limitation, whatever like free agent limitations they have with the players in Americas. It just feels like especially if they've said to Cryo that he's allowed to go and talk to other orgs, that feels like, they're just keeping a completely open mind. But you got to act on those kind of things like fast, otherwise people like huge names end up getting locked up early, I would imagine, in the off season.
Yeah.
It's only been 3 days of the off season and it's been madness already.
I mean, it's always like this, really. But I guess this time Champs finished a little bit later, right? So it feels faster now.
Yeah.
That all these stuff's happening. It's always fun though, man. There's always only like 3-4 teams that stay the same.
Yeah.
But I agree with Bonkar. I think 100 Thieves would be mad to let Cryo go here. I'm doing that thing where I just slap like 200k buyout so that everyone just stops asking him. Like, honestly.
Does it stop
Maybe
there?
Aspas can go to China and buy him out. Maybe that's what he'll do with the money. But
maybe,
there's another
you
point
sell
in
him to a Chinese organization to be able to get a bunch of money to be able to fund the rest of your
Aspas
project.
Esports starts buying up a super team. But the thing about Champs being pushed back as well is Ascension has got pushed back as well. So you're it's in a weird spot where you're also waiting for those, maybe some Ascension players that, you might want as well, who are still playing,
And you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, you don't know who's going to win. And so it's going to shake out a little bit weirder, I think, this year because of some of those things.
I think TSM could get picked to pieces. I mean, Envy have got 2 underage players. Maybe Winthrop could get picked apart a little bit, but yeah, it's a strange spot. Let's briefly touch on Evil Geniuses. Don't know exactly what they're going to do, but the Sheep Esports report is that Com is set to return to EG, and they were looking at him as the IGL, I believe, as well. So reuniting with Potter. I mean, we've talked about how good Com is in terms of like an out-of-game character to have on the team too, like in terms of his attitude. His teams generally tend to be more successful than you would expect. What do you think about him as a caller? Because he hasn't done that before, at least not like primary. I know that he was doing secondary calls on Lev quite a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a good move, to be honest, because he's been with Potter before. He knows her system and these things, and I think he plays a very good role to be an IGL because he's a initiator, and also his play style. Yeah, I think it should fit because you could like be an initiator that then goes on flanks because he creates those gaps on the map with how he's calling. But I think it just comes down to like how well can they implement him into the IGLing spot, and how easy is it to teach him things. We spoke about it before, like protocols and rules and all of these things versus certain comps on specific maps, all of that kind of stuff. So interesting move. I think it makes sense. I think is he a little bit older as well? It's like
so, yeah.
a next step in his career to do good.
It's
And
good idea.
yeah, I will say also there's some like magic to him as well because his teams tend to do better with him, even if like he doesn't get like the praise individually for being insane or whatever. Yeah, like he seems like a very good glue player, kind of like paTiTek in Europe, but just scan initiator instead of flash initiator.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing him. We'll have to see what they cook. It feels like they're going to be working with a bit of like working with the scraps from other people's table, but
I think that's going to be good.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
think
good scraps.
The scraps this year, they taste good. The scraps.
The scraps are great.
Especially, I think one thing that has benefited EG here, but like if Lev go back to South American, that's like a team who was looking for North American players, now isn't looking for North American players, and so you now get to maybe take some players that otherwise would have been going to someone like Lev.
Yeah. There's good tier 2 talents as well out there, to be honest. So they should be fine.
Let's move on to this one is also one of my like most interesting teams to talk about. Crew. The reporting is that Saadhak and Less are set to join Crew, but they're also, they already had Dantadeus. So Dantadeus was one of the only players that they kept under a long-term contract for the future. They allowed Mazzino even, who they had, to go and explore his options. So Dantadeus, Saadhak, Less was in talks with them. That now seems to be happening. They've also been looking towards Silence, apparently, too, who was a 2G kind of like, he was a bit of a flex player, but mostly I think we saw him playing like Jet for the team a lot, and some Sentinel stuff. So who's kind of like flexing around, but on fragging roles. And then I don't know who is supposed to be the final player for the team, but that would leave almost all of the like original crew players out of the project, which I did not expect to happen for next year. That's a huge shift.
I agree. That is a huge shift, but it's perfect timing. You got one of the best Viper players in Less coming in. Harbor, getting a rework. Considering what they did to all the other controllers, it's going to be a little bit overpowered. You run it back. You got the original Viper Harbor combo in these two.
Oh, let's get a good Sky in there. Let's run it back.
Yeah, get a Sky involved. Holy.
Well, you are cooking with that one. You're cooking.
Dude, they're going to overbuff Harbor, man. It's going to happen for sure. You know it's going to. It's finally Saadhak's year, man. He's waited 2 years for this. He's back.
Yeah. I mean, the surprising thing with Crew is Kess,
Yeah.
He's just so good, like individually. So I don't know what that's about. I didn't even know that they dropped everyone, to be honest. So that is very surprising. And also, where is he gonna land then, if that's the case?
He posted that he's open for tier 2 options.
Did
so
he really?
That kind of leads me to think that maybe he's not getting enough tier 1 trials, which is crazy.
Bonkar hadn't heard that he was dropped yet, so the
he's got his new smokes.
Another upgrade.
I mean, he's a beast, man.
But I think the options are the options are very limited if you're not down to speak English. I don't know whether he is or isn't. I don't know how comfortable he'd be with that. But if he wanted to play on like a Spanish-speaking team, which he has done across his basically whole career, then it's like Lev or Crew. That's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, like, yeah, the problem Kesna has specifically as well is that he can't, like, the Brazilian orgs, like a Brazilian org might be an option, for some of these other
some
players.
Kind of mixed Spanish-Portuguese team.
Yeah. For him, maybe it's less of an option.
But I thought his English was getting better, or am I just making this up?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to the guy, so I don't really know, like, what it's like.
Dude's whack him in FURIA, man.
We did a few content pieces with him. He can speak English. In my opinion, he can speak it very well. He's just shy about it. So in like a team environment, I think he could do it. As far as like interviews and stuff, he's just shy.
Yeah.
Sure.
He is also one of those players that I think it's like maybe you don't build the team around him, but he does have a very specific style of the way that he wants to play. Like he is super confident, aggressive, goes for his fights. Like I think that might put some people off from wanting him on a team where it feels like you live or die by Kesnet. Especially if you're thinking about him maybe changing roles or something.
Do we think they keep no one?
Insane.
What happens to Shy then?
He's also, so they haven't confirmed they're getting rid of them. It's that their contract's expired. So they could bring them back. But again, think about who they currently
Less,
they have Dante. They have Dante, they have Saadhak, they have Less, and apparently they have Silence as well. So you got one spot, and you're probably looking for a smokes player, assuming that Less is going to be playing Senti Viper for them. So who are you looking at? Like Melza, Mazzino? Maybe Kesnet comes back and plays smokes? Maybe Kesnet comes back and kicks Dante off the team? I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird time out there. But
triple duelist, Silence, Kesnet, and Dante. The new meta.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm such a Shy believer that I would try and work him in somehow and then go heavy, play Viper Omen every map, let Less play Viper, put Shy on.
What if EG teach comms
Sentinel
Spanish?
or vice versa? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, great idea. Cook, bro.
Dude,
cook.
EG Kesnet. Oh my goodness. I'm down for that.
Yeah?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Good
that's
scraps.
a cool idea.
Good
scraps.
Dude, imagine Kesnet being a scrap, bro. That's crazy.
It is wild. You talked about FURIA earlier. Let's talk FURIA, because you said, get the Kesnet on the FURIA team. Now, part of that would be, it might be a bit weird and play for a Brazilian organization. I don't know that the Brazilian fans would be down for that, even if the players were, but hey-ho. That aside, FURIA already looks like they're locking in a roster like really early on as well. I would think that FURIA is one of those teams that wants to see like who's available after Ascension, what scraps are we working with, like that, these kind of questions. But the reporting is that they have a team almost assembled by the look of things. Maybe it's a lot more ethereal than it seems based on the reporting. But they were talking about Koala Noob being on the roster as the IGL, and then the roster that I saw was Artazine looking to join, with Basic, who was trying to play for FURIA all year long, but they couldn't get a visa for him. And then recent reporting has put Nerve on the team too, who I think originally the reporting was that Nerve and Com were the two players in the running for calling on EG. So Nerve, I assume, would be the IGL for this squad then, and maybe not Koala Noob? I don't know. Because Koala Noob IGL would be nuts. Like, he's calling and duelist? That's really strange.
I would
Almost
say,
no one does that anymore.
before I went to Oxygen, I was talking to M80, and I had some VODs of them when they were pracking and stuff. And I legit thought Koala Noob was the IGL from those VODs in that team.
Oh.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, I thought Koala Noob was John QT, and then like I even finished the VODs, and I was like, wait, it was a little bit weird. Like, who was the actual IGL in the team? And then I understood that that was the duelist being that vocal and like making that many mid-round calls and like all that stuff. So it doesn't surprise me a lot. And I will say, when Karmine Corp made that roster with Scream IGL on duelist, I was super high on it. I was like, the duelist role IGL thing could legit be like a good thing if you have someone who could do it, and then I guess Koala Noob makes sense, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, so then the other players that have been linked to FURIA were Darkest and Logan, who I'm not particularly familiar with, but I believe these are both tier 2 players from North America. And I mean, again, this is like now 6 players that have been linked to this via various pieces of reporting, so it might be much less nailed down than
doing a 6-man roster as well.
Yeah, possibly. But it definitely seems like they're not going full Brazilian. I think from the people that they have been attached to, you know, Koala Noob, Nerved, maybe even Logan and Darkest as well, they're almost assembling like the one roster that got FURIA wins at the start of this year.
Well, this is the thing. What if they have Basic there still, because they're still waiting to see if he can get a visa? That's why there's 6 names, because they now have a plan for Basic, who's just sitting in visa jail, and Schrodinger's visa. Will he ever get it? We don't know, but they're waiting for him. That's why there's 6 of them, and they've been burned so many times before by visa issues that they just decide we're done with it. We're going to sign the players that worked for us last year, the tier 2 NA players, and they're going to carry us to hopefully much success.
That's the thought. Alim is also a player that's been tied to a lot of these like coaches trials and stuff. But
he's a duelist, right?
Yeah, but I mean, FURIA can do whatever they like with these players. They can just toss them around on different roles. FURIA feels like one of those orgs that is not swinging for the outfield with their like trying to get in and stay for next year.
I think they've accepted their fate.
I think they have. I think they've accepted their fate and are just putting together a roster that they think will be like good and cheap, is what I'm getting out of this.
But I feel like if you're doing that, you wait for the scraps. You do the EG. But
yeah. Well, maybe they are. That's what I was saying.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they are, and the reporting is just like
this is who they're trialing.
Yeah. But it's a strange roster. It really is. I mean, they and MIBR were like linked as the 2 shit Brazilian orgs, and now they've taken completely diverging paths. And now MIBR looking like a super team, FURIA looking like not even a Brazilian team, a tier 2 North American team. Very strange.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Let's talk tier 2 Americas then. America's Ascension, briefly. What were your expectations coming in, Bonkar, from what you've like? Because I assume that you've played against a lot of these teams when you're scrimming and stuff. Did you expect the North American teams to be significantly better than the other, Brazilian squads, LATAM squads, that kind of thing?
Yes and no. I know like TSM, Envy, and Winthrop, like they're very good, especially Winthrop. Like the kind of like the dark horse in America's Ascension right now. Like they're a really good team together. We pracked, Zikz, Karma, and some of those teams, but the Brazilian teams we didn't prack as much. It's one of those where the kind of like in Europe when the MENA team comes into Ascension, you don't really know what to expect of them. Obviously, Brazil had some big names coming into Ascension, so probably expecting them to do good, but TSM and Envy definitely expected them to be like at the top, and then Winthrop just grinding through. To be honest, it's not like super. It's not a shocker, to be honest, if you ask me.
I didn't ask you earlier when we were talking about EMEA, but when you're pracking against these tier 2 teams, obviously you were talking about like Minny dropping 40 on you and stuff. I know that maybe people from the outside don't understand that you like the tier 1 teams are not just pasting the tier 2 teams all the time in every scrim. Like you're trying stuff out. They have incredible games. You get caught off guard. Like there are great players, there are great teams. But if you could get like a sense of where the skill level is, where do you think the tier 2, like these top tier 2 teams that play in Ascension, where do you think that lies in terms of the tier 1 level? Like would they be mid-table? Do you think they end up being at the bottom? Because we saw 2G come in this year and they fell fairly flat. But we've also seen other teams, I mean, G2 being a bit of a silly example maybe, where they come in and look phenomenal.
I think this year it would only be Envy, to be honest, who could be like, if they play, when they're in peak performance and they're playing well, like they could be a top team in Americas, in my opinion. But, they don't have a lot of experience in these things, but like individually on paper, they should be towards the top in VCT Americas, in my opinion. And then the rest of the team is like, take TSM as an example, like if they had a good run, they could make like the top of the middle pack, if that makes sense. And then they would struggle against the good teams because I do think they lack a little bit of firepower compared to like Envy. Winthrop would just be down towards the bottom, to be honest. Like they play good Valorant and like they're a good team, but there comes a level to like when firepower actually becomes like a problem, and you can't do that against certain franchise teams. That's just how it is. Yeah. And to add into like the tier 2 prac versus tier 1, it's also I know this from pracking as a tier 2 team. When you're a tier 2 team and you're practicing against a tier 1 team, like you're essentially playing for contract every single time. Like you're playing the World Cup final every single practice. Like you're going in with the mentality of we're gonna beat the fuck out of these guys. Like I don't care what it takes, I'm gonna get 30.
Yeah.
So it's very good practice with tier 2, even tier 3 teams. Like they want to prove themselves. So it's just really good because they come out swinging every single time.
Yeah. Let's go through some of the teams then that didn't look so hot. I mean, the LATAM teams kind of fell over, which is an unfortunate thing when you're looking at like upcoming talent. I know that we've been discussing on the show previously, like, oh, who could Crew get when we didn't really know what was going on? And we were like, well, we don't really know who the upcoming talent is. And then you look at some of the games and you're like, oh, the team that did the best was not upcoming talent. They were it was fucking Takolia and Nags and Klaus and Delzik. It's Crew from 2021, basically. It's a little concerning. It feels like that region is hurting for not having good teams to play against all the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit of that for sure, and I think it's a little bit of the fact that there's like not like NA is just such a good region as well. So having just limited amounts of spots in franchising means that you're always going to have pretty stacked tier 2 teams as well. And we're kind of seeing that as well. So I think it's a bit of what you were saying in terms of like the prac and up and coming talents, and maybe like lack of IGLs I've kind of heard as well from some of these regions, and then just the fact that the NA talent is stacked really on these teams.
They also Leviathan Academy wasn't allowed to play because they're an academy team, and they were better than these squads from what I understand. And some of those players will be going to Lev next year, so that's kind of cool. And also Loudstall Verti, so I know that TMV was very angry about that.
Well, it's just that Ecolos Laser were on this insane win streak, which maybe again is like showcase that the rest of the region wasn't that good. I suppose if they're winning like 30 games in a row, but yeah, they kind of took their best player and then So yeah, I mean there is. I think the big one is Lev Academy, but I do think like when you compare it to maybe NA and you think like, oh, there's like a girth of talent in NA that you're like somewhat excited about.
Girth.
Maybe in LATAM and Brazil. You don't like the word girth? You don't like that?
He couldn't resist
Just
himself.
that's
man.
a lot of girth. That's all I'm saying.
But well, I mean, NA has a wealth of talent. There you go. And maybe LATAM and Brazil, they've got little pockets. They don't have the ass past China money, to support them, and so they just got a little girth.
Little girth. They did have Team Solid from Brazil. I mean, they're not a LATAM team, but the two Brazilian teams, Stella and Team Solid. Team Solid went 2-0. They didn't play against TSM or Envy yet. Team Solid's got an upcoming game against Envy, but they kind of rolled over Winthrop. The game that I watched, they dismissed them completely. It wasn't
It's the whole
particularly
thing,
close.
like you were saying, it's all players that have been in tier 1 just drop down into.
Yeah, this one for sure feels like a tier 1. This feels like you're looking at a FURIA roster from one of the years of Valorant, right? In tier 1.
Basically.
It's like you could absolutely see this just being a cut and paste job, and Dejazine just took over. It's kind of sad seeing Dejazine down at the tier 2 level because it's like he's clearly too good, but for some reason people don't want him on a tier 1 team. But he's frying.
It's one of those with Winthrop there, like as I said, how they would compare to a tier 1 team. Like they are a really good team together, but it just comes to a point where like it gets too hard. You need to win essentially so many key rounds against a team like Team Solid to even have a chance. To be honest, it's even on Ascent, like they won both pistol rounds and they still lose 13-10, which is like rough, and those are like the most important rounds in the game. So it's just hard. But Team Solid, they have a good team on paper. Yeah, they have a lot of experience, but a lot of firepower, like a Turkish team from Europe, you could say.
So let's have a look at the games that are coming up then. So you've got... Oh, actually, you know what? Before we talk about that too, while the clips are running, let's talk TSM versus Envy again, because those were the big teams that we were looking at, I think, as favorites. I expected, having not known much about America's tier 2, that Envy would be fairly clear favorites. And then I was looking into it and I was like, oh, TSM beat them recently. And then talking to some people, they were like, oh, well, TSM played a really good game that time. You're expecting Envy actually to be able to maybe win the rematch. They look like the better team overall. TSM beat them again here in the Swiss stage in a 2-1 victory and kind of shut them out on Sunset and Abyss. They really demonstrated like they knew how to stop this mega aggro style that Envy seems to have.
Yeah, they essentially dominated them aside from one half of Valorant where they completely collapsed on their the Haven attack side.
Yeah.
Yes.
But other than the Haven attack side, I mean, this was a pretty one-sided game, right? So they were, what was it, 11-3? I don't want to cause any flashbacks of Bonkar, a big old E to win on that. Yeah, they essentially they were clearly the better team in this game. Which, like, it's like you, Josh, like, throughout, you're hearing rumors, right? This whole year in Tier 2 Americas, it's been like, you just hear rumors about rankers at first, and like, oh, they're actually pretty good, and they're beating all these teams, and then they get signed to Envy, and it's like, oh, they're kind of like the team that everyone is kind of excited about. And then TSM did what TSM apparently always do, because they did this last year as well, where they, muddle their way through the first part of the year, and then kind of lock in towards the second part. But last year in Ascension, they kind of quickly fell away. It seemed more like that was just a good run of form that got them to Ascension. This year though, it seems like they've really rounded into shape, but like a good shape. They're like a nice circle right now. And
They're a nice circle.
and I would say right now, based off that performance, that they're favorites, right?
Yeah, I think they have a higher floor at the moment, and I think MV, because you always have these teams, and Bonkar did it earlier as well, and I know the G2 have done it earlier, where it's just been like damn, sometimes Envy like slappers in practice. So we know they have like a higher ceiling, but for sure at the moment it's looking like the lower floor of TSM kind of feels like the one. But dude, if Envy decide to kind of step up and show their highest potential, then I think they can easily take this.
This was such a strange match because even if you leave the first map aside, where one team crushed on defense, then the other team crushed on defense. By the way, that comeback never had any tension to it at all. No. As soon as it got going, you were like, "Oh, Envy is just going to win this game, even though they're
every
down
round
like 11-5 or whatever."
Yeah.
But then every round was every round was over in 20 seconds for the whole match. Like the whole match, the round was done at like a minute on the clock. I know that we're watching an example here of I suppose actually, but it wasn't. But it was mostly when Envy were attacking that it happened. It wasn't always when TSM were on the attack, though they did have some fast rounds themselves. But when Envy were on the attack side, they were winning or losing in the first wave of the push.
Yeah,
it was bizarre.
I mean, the thing with what it looked to me in the TSM Envy game is that I saw it in the previous TSM game as well, like how aggressive they were on land. Like they were just they didn't back down from a single fight. They also took like insta timings everywhere. Like GMD is playing with the biggest confidence like I've ever seen.
The biggest confidence.
Yeah, I almost slipped up there, but the way that they were like countering Envy was just like fighting them and just playing up all the time. And I think Envy isn't used to that. And I also think Envy is like not performing at all, like not even close to what they can perform. And TSM is kind of peaking. I assume it's going to become like a rematch between those two. And I'd still say that Envy is the favorites because if they get going and they get some confidence, it's also, they look a little bit nervous. It's like stale up there for them. Like Eggster is the only one like playing like he normally do. Like I think it could get stumpy out there from Envy's part. To be honest, like they're just insane compared to these teams. I'm gonna be honest.
If you look at the stats, the obvious narrative is Kane Zero playing like in the online portion differently to how he's playing here at LAN. Now, I don't know. I'm not up enough to know whether Kane's like played at LAN before and been good or bad or what. I don't know enough about the guy, but I know that he's young and I know that he's been frying. And I'm looking at the stats and he's got like, he's the third lowest rated player in Ascension currently after he's been touted as like the best player of tier 2. And, you know, he's got 0.68 kill per round, 200 ACS average, but that's with, you know, while playing full duelist. So that's the player that I'm looking at the moment.
Yeah. I mean,
got the sick games out of the way. Hopefully I can play sick in the playoffs.
If he's sick, then that's a pretty good one. And I think as well, like Kayak was a good example this year. Slow start, just kind of get used to the more high pressure games and just realize is that you can just play how you play in Prac and it'll be fine. So I can only see like an up performance. It just feels, I mean, it feels like it's just a matter of time, to be honest.
Yeah, it honestly should give him confidence that he's not playing at all to his level and they're like still grinding through the games. Like his teammates got his back. So he's probably just thinking like, if I just get in form individually, then we're just going to roll every single team. Because that would be my mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go into our bold predictions then. We all predicted which team. Remember that in Americas, there's only one team that ends up making it through. It's not like the other regions we were talking about, EMEA and Pacific, where there's 2 slots. G2 have kind of spoiled that for all of the tier 2 teams. So let's see who we predicted as our winners of America's Ascension. And we've all gone for TSM, Bonkar with the Envy pick. And I can understand exactly why you're saying that with the context of the, like, you think that Envy are underperforming. Because, to be honest, I'm looking at the Kane stat line, and I'm thinking, holy shit, actually, Bonkar's persuaded me. Maybe TSM have. Yeah, I mean, because I was just going by what I've seen, and I was like, wow, TSM are handling them so well. But I don't have the depth of watching Envy before. I've watched them like once or twice, but that's it, of knowing how good they are.
Yeah, it's just a ceiling thing, right? Like, I'm guessing Bonkar's just saying like they've got the highest ceiling. If they hit that ceiling, they'll win.
They win.
Yeah, it's not even the highest ceiling. It's like they're in, you know, a 12-story unit, and like the other teams in a 3-story unit. You know,
That's
like
smart, man.
they're not even close.
Messed up. Can't do my boy GMD like that, dude. It's
No,
crazy.
no. They're fantastic. It's just like Envy is built different. It's also their unique play style and like how they view the game, like their comps and everything. It's just if they get going, it's gonna be a bloodbath. I'm not gonna lie.
I think they've really been proven valid in the comp style that they chose, because it felt like a gimmick when they began. When they began with Rankers, it felt a bit gimmicky the way that they were playing, and it's almost like they've stuck with what their style has been. And I feel like the pro level, if anything, is starting to converge more towards them rather than the other way around. Like normally you see the gimmick teams, they're like, they reach a ceiling and they're like, all right, well, actually, it was a bit of a gimmick and now we have to swap. I'm thinking about like Nongshim with their neon fade stuff. They were like, all right, well, at some point we've reached the ceiling with that. I feel like actually it's the pro teams who are like, they started off not playing as much of the Yoru, and they're like, actually, kind of having the Yoru one trick is goated. And, and you know, like, I mean, it's not, I suppose, the style of like Inspire and stuff, but yeah.
They were one trick and strong agents as well, though.
Yes.
That's a big part of it. Like Yoru's Cypher is, or at least was.
Yeah.
Well, it was legit.
Yeah.
This patch came.
It was a good
just the
patch
right
for
time.
it. Yeah.
Well, let's have a look. The matches coming up are that TSM plays against Winthrop University.
I mean, these matches will end by the time you've finished this show, apparently.
Yeah, probably. So TSM plays against Winthrop, Team Solid against Envy. So you can tune in and watch them like basically right after the show. And that's what's happening. Let's get into it. Let's end the show then. TMV's got places to be, and I've got awards to give out. So let's get into why it's.
Sorry.
No. It has been a very long show, and you're very valid in saying that. So let's go into why it's weekly
Bonkar's got
award.
a lot of nuggets to eat.
He does. He's
True.
got a lot of
I'm
those
actually
nuggets.
starving. I'm not gonna lie. So it's gonna be delicious with some nuggets.
It's so dark in here. I can't see anything. What is that glowing? Oh, it's why it's weekly award.
It's Why It's Weekly Award for science, and this week's Why It's Weekly Award for the power of science. I'm gonna give it to, and you know what? I think Sliggy should hand this one out as well. Sliggy wanted to give a permanent partnership spot in Tier 1 to Rare Atom as some level of a consolation prize for trying so hard for 3 years and always failing. But at least we can give them the Why It's Weekly Award.
That's what they get. That's fucking crap, isn't it? 3 years. 3 years they've been trying to get into VCT. They got the weekly award. Sideshow gets every other week.
I don't think I've ever won the blasted thing.
Have you not?
No, I think I probably
should have picked TMV. Fuck. But honestly, like, shout out to the org, dude. Like, Tier 2 is fucking rough out there. And to do it 3 years in a row, I got mad respect for, first of all, whoever's putting these teams together. That's sick to do that 3 times in a row. Tier 2's it's a jungle to get to the finals. To do that 3 times in a row, someone's got some magic over there. And then, man, I just feel bad for him, to be honest. I really hope they make franchising in 2027.
Yeah.
Well, when they don't, they'll always have this.
They'll always have the Why It's Weekly Award. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Bonkar. I really appreciate having you on the show this week.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the Royal Palace. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Royal Palace.
That's the one.
This is it. This is it. It doesn't
be Royal Palace.
Doesn't get any better than this, TMV. It doesn't get any better than this. And shout out to TMV, Minny, Chobra. Shout out to Minny's
I hope
captors.
Minny's okay. I hope we ever catch him. I hope he's okay.
Let him go, yeah.
He's in the Pixelverse.
You can feed him on very little. He just eats the scraps. He's the same as like an EG. He's just eating those tasty little scraps. If you haven't already, go and check out platchat.com because you can have a look at live tickets for the Red Bull Homeground live show that we're doing. Otherwise, tune in and watch us doing the co-stream of the Red Bull Homeground event at the very least, because it'll be back to our roots doing some couch co-stream stuff. And we'll have the pros and various special guests on the live show too. And that's on November 12th at the OSNYC. And all of the details are on platchat.com. Subscribe to the channel as well. We're very close to the 100K mark, and that would be a nice little thing to hang in Kurt's back room. And thanks for sticking with us while we had some tech issues.
Scream before map 5.
Yes, of course. Can we Can we all?
I wanted you to do it, but you're gonna have Bonkar do it.
I mean, why don't we do it together?
Go on.
Together?
Yeah,
I'm down.
Kurt, count us down and let's give it a Yahoo.
You
3,
put the mic away.
3, 2, 1.